There will never be enough remakes by Bubble Tea. You guys like Bubble Tea? Bubble Tea always felt weird. Do you know what I mean? It always just felt a bit weird, which is why I'm not too big on it. I just have my regular tea. Thank you, a bit Earl Grey. But in terms of remakes, I definitely do think there's a pushback against the remakes and remakes as a whole. I think since we live in a post The Last of Us remake society, I think people are definitely starting to raise their eyebrows when it comes to remakes. But I think remakes, more so in video games than compared to other mediums, have their place, and I think they're quite important. I would say easily one of my favorite remakes. Like, remakes just, I think remakes are warranted in certain areas and maybe less warranted in others. I think in a medium like video games where, you know, sensibilities can adapt very, very quickly, I think having remakes and like ports that like adhere to modern sensibilities is quite an important thing, honestly. So when you say there'll never be enough remakes, the first chapter is called "Remakes Used to Be Cool," so I'm just like, what does he mean by this, gamers? What does he mean by this? Like, I would say one of my favorite remakes that I played last year was it last year or the year before? I don't know how much time has gone, but it was Metroid Prime Remastered. Having tried to play Metroid Prime 2 on the original GameCube, playing a 3D shooter where you use one stick to move and one stick to like rotate the camera is torture, and I do not recommend it to anyone. So Metroid Prime Remastered, simply going, hey, the game looks kind of prettier now, and you could use two sticks like a normal person, was like, that's enough for me. Game of the year. So it doesn't even have to, like, remakes don't even necessarily have to do anything crazy. I think as long as they like kind of adapt the game, if the game very clearly in its original state is not really held to the test of time, which video games are notorious for not doing, and simply bringing it to the modern day in front of a new audience with those sensibilities in mind, I think that could be a good reason to remake a game. I think there is obviously certain exceptions. I would say the various Switch ports of Wii U games was another example where I'd say that it's fine. I wouldn't say it was good, but I'd say it's fine. Again, remaking a game for a console that no one really bought, for a console everyone has, I would say is also I'm a bit more okay with that as well. So that's also okay. When it comes to remakes, I think a fair expectation to have is extra content as well. You know what I mean? I think that's also a good thing to add in remakes. I don't think it's necessary for a remake to be good to have extra stuff, but I think it's one of those things that gives you goodwill and extends an olive branch to the people who also play the original who want to buy the new game too. So I think there's a certain je ne sais quoi when it comes to remakes. You know, I feel like you could probably put 10 remakes in a room and most of us could figure out what the good ones are, what the bad ones are, you know? And I feel like if this video does touch upon the fact that maybe the standards or like our perception of remakes are different, I would say that was kind of always bound to happen with the natural passage of time. Does that make sense? Like, as video games become more refined and refined, the need for remakes become less and less. So as a result, maybe our perception of them becomes off as a bit more, they're just being lazy as opposed to, look at this cool game we get to play in modern graphics. You know, maybe there's maybe a perception issue with the modern day. I don't know. It could be some interesting things. I want to see what this video talks about. I think too many people downplay remakes because they just don't want to play the same game twice, not realizing it's not necessary for them. I definitely do think there's definitely a culture on the internet of people not realizing that not everything is for them. I do think it's partly on people. I do think it's partly the platforms that manifest that attitude, but I think it's an entirely different conversation I could easily waffle on years about. They always make games more accessible and palatable for modern audiences, so as long as they're good and fairly priced, they deserve to be a mainstay. Yeah, I agree with that, honestly. I think it really depends on game to game. Graphics always get brought up, but also if the OG's gameplay feels garbage, a good tweak here and there is nice. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. Gaben Zone, where's Half-Life 3? Okay. Superstar Saga is better because the control scheme of the original is way too clunky and intuitive. You think so? I mean, of course, I would say you think so because I've played the original loads of times and I don't agree, obviously. So yeah, as long as new people can have different ways, then to play a game, I think it's always a good thing. I don't like the idea of people wishing for remakes just as an excuse to play the game again. A remake should be elegant and improve the game or allow it to be allowed for new audiences. I definitely do think. I wonder if this video is going to touch upon. That's actually a very good point. I wonder if this video is going to touch upon that. I've definitely seen a good chunk of people who say, remake this game, and it's like, the original's like right there and it's fine. Like, are you sure you want this to be a remake? Or do you just want to experience your childhood again? You fucking nostalgia ass baby. Like, it could be a bit of that. Oh, wrong screen. It could be a bit of that. Do you know what I mean? I wonder if the video is going to get a touch upon that. I wonder. That'd be interesting. There might be a bit of that. Because for me, as much as I love Metroid Prime, the reason I want it remade is because I want it with normal fucking controls, please. And I got that. And I want the second and third games to also be remade for that reason. But something like, say, I don't know, what's a game back in the day that I like that doesn't necessarily need a remake? I don't know, really. Like Metroid Fusion? Like, I don't think Metroid Fusion needs a remake. Like, I think you just play the original and it's fine. Do you know what I mean? It'd be nice if it got one, I suppose. I'm not like sitting there going, oh, a remake, please. It's just, you could just play the original game. Metroid Fusion works perfectly, you know? So I think there's definitely a bit of that. Yeah, DKC, there's loads of games that just kind of work already and don't need it, you know? The one thing I don't like about remakes is due to better games being more popular, the game needs remakes. It needs remakes, most often don't get them. I think that's another unfortunate side effect of the video game industry being bigger than ever, is that the publishers that kind of just want, you know how it is, you know, as you know, video games become more and more about the money. It becomes less about remaking the games for preserving art and more about remaking games to sell to a new audience, unfortunately. Ideally, the best remakes can do both, but of course, there's always going to be a big element of that, you know what I mean, which is a bit unfortunate. Do we call those games timeless classics? We do. Just like you, Lucius. You're a timeless classic, okay? You're a timeless classic. Right, let's see. Hang on. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Skies needs to be remade. Again, I think that's something. I think Saul is just doing the thing that I just said in. Saul, you know I got nothing but love for you, Saul. But I think you're doing the thing that I just said in real time. Does Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Skies need a remake? I don't think there's anything archaic about its design that necessarily warrants a remake. I think someone could easily just play that game and they're fine. There's maybe a couple of like weird tweaks that I would do to that game, maybe. Like I think the recruitment system is a bit too harsh in that game, whereas in like modern Mystery Dungeon games, they've kind of refined it to make it easy to recruit Pokemon, but like I don't think it needs a remake. It'd be nice, but I don't think it needs. And that's the thing I was talking about. What's the difference between a remake being needed and a remake being wanted? You know, it's a big difference between two. So I could read the chat all day, gamers. I could read the chat all fucking day. But let's get started with the video, shall we? I think there's an interesting discussion. So what's Bubble T gonna say? Take it away.
You know?
Take it away as soon as I raise the volume back to max.
I think remakes are pretty cool. It's nice to breathe new life into old games. Remakes have basically always existed since forever, but I do remember a point when they felt more like a special treat.
Where's the volume? My bad. My bad.
Okay, there's plenty more fish in the sea.
How do I look, yellow man?
1942, I take you back in Nora. Okay, I pull up.
Feel that the
remakes
are the best case scenarios for remakes. They take the foundation of the original but make it its own thing without invalidating the past.
Yeah, I've heard the RE games tend to have really good remakes because like there's valid reasons to play both, which is ideally would be the best kind of remake, right? But yeah, I've heard good things. I can't comment on it personally, of course, but yeah, I've heard the RE remakes tend to be good. They tend to be quite well done. So interesting. Thank you so much for that. From the top again. Why not?
It's nice to breathe new life into old games. Remakes have basically
right?
always existed since forever, but I do remember a point when they felt more like a special treat. Like, a remake was cool simply for being. As kids, we didn't really think about the implications of how faithful a remake would be, or how well it would evolve the concepts of the original, but I'm sure to some extent we were still subconsciously aware of that stuff.
I mean, yeah, I think it's just one of those things where it's a bit too loud. Oh my god, gamers, it's too loud now. Oh man. What I would say is that, like, yeah, I think as I was saying, as a medium kind of grows into its own and remakes become more common, of course we're gonna scrutinize it a bit more. Too quiet? My bad, chat. My bad. Let me raise it back up again.
For the purpose of this video, I will primarily be referring to video games, although I will briefly mention other mediums throughout the video. As time goes on, it does feel as though people are putting remakes under more scrutiny.
Is that good?
Nowadays, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. In a day and age where older media is becoming harder to obtain legitimately, it makes sense that people are starting to place more importance on the remake preserving the spirit of the original.
I mean, I suppose you're not wrong, right? Is like legitimate copies of games are becoming harder to obtain. But I would say, is that necessarily? Hang on, let me hear that again. Hang on.
We're starting to play is becoming harder to obtain legitimately. In a day and age where older media is becoming harder to obtain legitimately, it makes sense that people are starting to place more importance on the remake preserving the spirit of the original.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. Although I would say that if there's the kind of person who values that sort of thing, what I'm trying to get at is that I feel like the overlap of the kind of person who values the spirit of a remake channeling the original because they can't access the old games anymore, and the kind of person that doesn't know emulators exist. I don't think there's a big overlap. Does that make sense? Like, it's true. Don't get me wrong. Like, for someone that really wants to play these games in their original state without looking into any sort of like alternative means, I think it's harder and harder than ever. That is true. But I mean, you know, like a cheeky emulator's right around the corner. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. Like, come on, man. You can always play it. Hey, listen, you can always get an R4 card. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. You can always get a little bit of dolphin, in your life. You know, a little bit of dolphin. But like, I get what he means. I get what he means. Though, it's true.
But the rise in critiques didn't come out of nowhere. Rather, they were simply the byproduct of that other thing that's been on the rise: the demand for remakes.
Everything needs to be.
Something I've noticed in recent years is that a lot of the time, these remakes kind of get treated like checklists of things people want changed or fixed from the original.
No shade of these people. Ooh.
It's a pretty reductive way to discuss them, in my opinion. Instead of wanting to explore new things that would fit well with the original game's intent, it feels like people are more interested in revising it. Look, there's nothing wrong with a remake refining and polishing stuff from the original. It's to be expected. But it feels like we're reaching a point where people are starting to view remakes as a catch-all solution for fixing games. Like, bruh, just because a game has flaws doesn't mean it needs a remake. No matter how much you remake a game, it'll never be perfect. In the next decade, people will want to fix things about that remake too. And look, I'm no stranger to games being remade multiple times. 2 of my favorite games of all time have had multiple re-releases. But like, at what point do we decide to just take a game for what it is? Some of you might assume, as soon as the game gets remade, and this remake will be the definitive way to play it. But people 2 console generations from now might not agree with you. Games advance alongside technology. Sure, I could boot up a Windows 7 computer.
I think that's. I mean, yeah, but I think that it's an interesting. It's an I'm trying to think. I was just listening because I'm trying to think of something to say, but my brain's working slow. The flu has like slowed my brain process. But I think it's definitely an interesting conversation. Like, how many remakes is too many remakes? Do you know what I mean? But then again, what I would say is that I think once a remake has fulfilled its job, is it necessary to remake it? I don't know. It's like there's so many angles you could tackle that point. Really, how many remakes is too many remakes? Really, I suppose what's it? As long as the demand is still there, as long as there's things to preserve. Like, what do you like? For example, let's say 4 console generations from now, Nintendo were like, let's do Metroid Prime remastered again. Would that necessarily be a bad thing? As long as they kind of like update it for like modern standards, would that necessarily be a bad thing? I don't know, to be honest. People considering remakes as just patch is an interesting thing to say. I think there's definitely some people who definitely view remakes that way, Remakes should be an overhaul of the game, mainly graphically. Minor problems should be solved through updates instead. I think in the modern day, I think that's probably the best way to go about a remake. Because no matter how good a modern remake is, the remake won't be modern forever. Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's that, like, how many times does a game necessarily need to be remade? Can we go ad infinitum? I think it's one of those things where, since remakes are a relatively new phenomena, it's not really a question that people have like asked. Because again, in 4 console generations from now, if they remake Metroid Prime Remastered again, if they remaster it a second time, are we going to go, but they already did this on the Switch? Like, are we going to do that? So not necessarily. It's like a whole generation of kids have been brought up since that have no idea what Metroid Prime is, It's interesting. I was trying to think of a way to, like, talk about that, but I don't know. It's an interesting thought experiment.
And navigate just fine. 2 console generations from now might not agree with you. Games advance alongside technology. Sure, I could boot up a Windows 7 computer and navigate it just fine. But if you were to put most people in front of a Windows 7 computer in the year 2025, they'd probably be like, where's my AI assistant? Oh, why is there no text-to-speech? Oh, maybe I should have...
I joke about... He jokes about that chat, but oh my god, it's actually so funny. No, because you guys are probably like, what did he mean by this? But I actually read a very interesting Twitter thread the other day. Apparently, like... So when he says this, chat, let's hear it again.
Assistant? They'd probably be like, where's my AI assistant? Oh, why is there no text-to-speech?
But like, I was again, I would have thought like, Grok, Grok, is this true? No, hang on. But I actually read an interesting thread, like kind of somewhat related to this. But apparently, college students are fucking cheating. Their motherfucking ass are cheaters, bro. Apparently, it's rampant gamers. It's not even a joke. And they're like, everyone is cheating their way through college these days. I mean, it was actually quite an interesting thread where like they talk about like they interview like certain students and they say like, what the hell are you cheating for? And I'm just like, what the hell is happening? Apparently it's insane. Apparently, I had no idea because I never went to university, right? But apparently this shit's getting crazy now. So when he says this, I don't think he's being like too hyperbolic when he says this sort of thing. I don't know. I was like, what the hell? Look, what was it? Hang on. Let me open that thread again. There's this one line that like utterly floored me, chat. Hang on, let me show you. So I won't read the whole thread. If you want to look up the whole thread, you can read it. This line actually floored me. So what was it? Most assignments in college are not even relevant, he told me. They're hackable by AI, and I just had no interest in doing them. While other new students fretted over the university's rigorous core curriculum, described by the school as intellectually expansive and personally transformative, Lee used AI to breeze through all of these assignments with minimal effort. When I asked him why he'd gone through so much trouble to get into an Ivy League university, only to offload all the learning to a robot, he said, it's the best place to meet your co-founder and your wife. Oh my fucking lord! I'm just like, this is insane. This is insane to me. Some guy will pay like how many K a year for college? Because I'm just like, what the fuck, man? So that really floored me. Like, are we cooked? Chat? Is the next generation actually cooked? Because when people would tell me, oh, the next generation's cooked, the next generation's cooked, the next generation's cooked, I'm like, we've been saying that for like, you can go back to like fucking Roman times, saying, oh, this next generation. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where people have been saying this for fucking years. But when I read that, I'm like, hold up, man. Is this really that big a problem? Holy, you know what I mean? That's insane to me. So, but like when he says this joke, chat, I don't want it to feel like a bit out of place. He might be spitting. Maybe he might be spitting.
Maybe I should have gone back a few years further so I could introduce him to Clippy.
Really?
And no, this isn't just an age thing. Despite technology becoming so much more ingrained in our lives now, people are ironically becoming more technologically illiterate.
Like, true, honestly, it's true, isn't it? Grok, is this true? Grok context? Grok, is this true? Bruv, the amount of... Hang on, like, I think when I realized this was starting to get bad, chat, like, granted, my niece, right, she's like, I think she's like 17 now, so she's kind of old. She's like one of the, I think she's technically a Zoomer, right? I think I was asking her to like Google something, and she's like, I don't really use Google. I'm like, what do you like? You don't just like, because like for me, like whenever I want to do something, you just Google it, right? But like apparently, like kids don't have that like muscle memory of, oh, like if you just need something, you just Google it. Apparently, like ChatGPT, like apparently people just like either don't or just like they'll TikTok search it or ChatGPT it now. Like people like apparently it's not uncommon for like Zoomers to just not use Google as often as they used to. Like, I think I read an interesting thing about that. I didn't bookmark it, but I read something about that like amongst Zoomers, like using ChatGPT to search things or TikTok search is actually a lot more common these days. Then I want to see if I can quickly find something. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Let me see. Yeah, like I was floored too. Let's see if I can find something real quick for you. I don't know. I found this, I suppose. 70% of Gen Z users use ChatGPT, while boomers, Gen X and boomers don't get it. So like it's literally, yeah, like Zoomers are like far more common. Like at least, maybe not you older Zoomers, but like you younger Zoomers. What's wrong with that though? Well, I think it's I think there's an element of that I want to say this. Not necessarily. I'm sick, guys. I can't talk. There's not necessarily anything that's wrong with it, but I think there's a bit of a difference between Google. I think there's a tiny bit. There's a tiny bit of a difference between Googling something versus ChatGPTing it. When it comes to Google, at least if you get some information, you can click on the first link. Ideally, most people do this, but you can click on a link, read the information, then you can scroll down to click another link and then read the information, then scroll down and click another link and get the information. With ChatGPT, though, it gives you the answer and like there's no inclination for you to further research. Does that make sense? So I think there's a bit of a difference when in that regard. ChatGPTing something, it gives you what it would consider the objective answer, whereas at Google, you search things and then you click the links and see what's going on. Does that make sense? So I think there's like a bit, even though the difference is tiny, I think there's a subconscious, especially for a growing mind, to learn that ability to be at least a little bit inquisitive is very, very important. You know, like even as a kid, I grew up like when I was Googling stuff, I was like, you click the first link, but like my teachers always said, hey, don't always use the first link. Like, you know, even, I'm sure you guys heard this. I'm sure we're not divided, the generations aren't that divided, right, chat? How many times did a teacher tell you Wikipedia is not a valid source? As an adult, yeah, Wikipedia is a fucking valid source, but when they say that, they mean as in, don't just use Wikipedia, use multiple different sources. Does that make sense? I'm sure you guys heard that as well. Yeah, you guys heard that too, so it's not like a generational divide. I heard that when I was a kid as well. So that's the thing. But like with ChatGPT, you're much, much, much more likely, especially if you're a young mind who doesn't quite understand, to take it all at face value. So when he says that younger people are more technologically literate than ever, I don't think he's necessarily wrong with that. I think he's exactly, there's no incentive to cross-read and fact-check anymore. That's the issue. That is the issue between Googling something versus ChatGPTing something. You could argue that maybe Google's results are like skewed or biased or blah, 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 blah. But like with ChatGPT, it gives you what it thinks is the objective answer. And the worst part is, isn't a lot of the time ChatGPT just wrong as well? So there can be a lot of times where you just fed the wrong fucking answers. So I'm just like, what's the you know what I mean? It's crazy, isn't it? So like that's even worse. So that makes kids even more technologically literate. I know, for example, when I'm teaching my kids around the internet, I'm definitely going to teach them more to like Google stuff than to ChatGPT stuff, 100%, because I think that little bit of inquisitiveness is very, very important for a young growing mind to learn. So I agree with this. I fully agree with this, honestly. Grok, is this true? Grok context? I always find that funny when I'm scrolling on Twitter. Hate seeing AI everywhere. It's honestly horrible. It is actually so bad, honestly. Don't cheat with Grok, do the work yourself. Also, we need more hands-on work, namely building. So I try to trade school. Yeah, I think hands-on experience is more important than ever before. It really, really is. Did you hear about people falling in love with AI girlfriends? Yeah, no, listen, lonely people have been lonely for a long time. The internet just exacerbates the issue, you know what I mean? I know a friend who GPT their maths so much and still never got 80%. That's insane to me. Bro, that's actually insane to me, man. That's insane. But yeah, so when he says this, guys, he's not wrong, okay? Learn to Google stuff, chat. Start Google. If you're a GPT or in my chat staying silent, learn to Google stuff, okay? Please, for the love of God.
Lives now, people are ironically becoming more technologically illiterate. Like, app design in general is leaning more towards making things as straightforward and simple as possible, possibly to a detriment. This design philosophy is starting to apply to how a lot of people nowadays view video games. I'd wager to say that it's because of the modern app design that's basically ingrained in people's lives at this point,
I think we were just talking about
that people aren't willing to learn and navigate in older games' mechanisms.
Literally, this is exactly what we're talking. Yes, this is literally exactly what we were just talking about. So there.
Regardless of how well designed the game is on the whole. An example that comes to mind is how Sonic controls in the Sonic Adventure games. I watched a video recently by Splash Dash. In the video, he explains how the homing attack used to be just a means of giving a little bit of precision to help Sonic hit the enemies in a 3D space, and use them to bridge across gaps. You're actually supposed to somewhat aim and push Sonic in the right direction before and after each homing attack. It's not a fully automated lock-on. As time went on though, the game started making the homing attack more and more automated, and basically conditioning the player to over-rely on it as the main means of keeping Sonic on course as opposed to platforming. You notice a similar pattern here? Much like modern app design, the easiest way to achieve accessibility is less emphasis on actual high-level engagement and more on complacent routine or cheap thrills. In a theoretical Sonic Adventure 2 remake, how likely is it for Sega to impose this safe homing attack model onto the game to make it less frustrating for the people who are more used to the newer Sonic games? If they were to do this, I'd at least hope they put in a toggle setting for a more free control homing attack, like the original. But even then, the remake would likely be designed with straightforward enemy chains. Anything too complex might conflict with the auto lock-on of the modern homing attack. That's not to say all the new Sonic games are bad, they've got plenty of other shit going for them. It's just this one fundamental area that weakens them overall. So
I think also touched. Thank you so much, Dex. Appreciate that, brother. Welcome to the Knighthood. But I think that also touches on something quite interesting too. In that, let's say for example, the Sonic example is actually pretty good, right? Like modern Sonic homing attacks are probably designed to be a bit more like automatic in their control, right? So if they were to remake Sonic Adventure 2 with that sensibility in mind, would it actually be a remake? Like, would you consider, like, it'd be technically a remake, but when you play a remake, you're expecting the more definitive version of the game. Would it be the more definitive version of the game with that sort of sensibility in mind, you know? So that's another aspect of remakes as well. That's another question you could ask, you know? Like, would it be more definitive if they adhered to their old design choice, which might piss off the newer fans, or to be more definitive if they modernized it for modern people, what pissed off the old fans? It'd be again another interesting question that remakes have a hard time answering. You know,
As much as I would love to say,
ideally it'd be a toggle, but either way, you know, things can't be that simple sometimes. You know,
just port everything, that's not exactly enough to satisfy everyone. Even if you were to argue in favor of ports over remakes, that leads into discussions about that old game jank.
old game jank, huh?
Man, what even is jank at this point? I've been sitting on my ass trying to think up of a solid definition for the word jank for hours.
Oh, okay. Let me try. I would say jank. That's actually a good question. When I think of jank, I think of like old video gaminess that kind of like feels really out of place. That like it's essentially it's something that like if I was to explain to a modern person, it feels like unintuitive. It's something that feels unintuitive compared to modern standards. Unpolished, yeah, I think that's a good word. It feels unpolished compared to modern standards, right? Like, let's say, for example, like a Pokemon Coliseum, for example, right? You have to go to a Pokemon Center to save your game, right? I'd consider that a bit of jank, right? Because in every Pokemon game, you can literally just press the start button to save your game. And Pokemon games now just auto-save for you. So going to a Pokemon Center to save is a bit of that old age jank. Do you know what I mean? That's what I consider jank. Usually I would say it's more in reference to the controls. Like if a game controls a bit weird, I'd say it's a bit more old age jank, you know, sort of thing. So I would say, yeah, the game not working like you think it's supposed to. I think that's a very good definition. Although I suppose Bubble Tea didn't have a live chat to feed them answers, so I suppose it's a bit harder than it looks. The Cameron 64, I'd say that's a bit of old age jank. Yeah, it's like something that, yeah, unpolished is probably the best way to. Yeah, you just kind of, it's one of those things where you just know you're right. But I'd say the game not working as you're supposed to, I think, is a good shorthand explanation. Unpolished / the game not working as you're supposed to. Like, intuitively, you feel like it should work a certain way, but the game's just like, no, we're old, so we're going to work this way instead, you know? I would say, like Metroid Prime 2, what I was talking about earlier. Like, if you were to play a 3D shooter, you'd expect one stick to move either forward, backwards, left, or right, and the other stick to rotate the camera. But instead, you're using one stick for both, so it's kind of like weird. You know, it's a bit of old age jank. I think that's a good definition for jank, right? I think so. And he was hitting you to go through the door, Metro, right? Yeah, it's like the wacky. Oh yeah, all the wacky physics in Mario Kart. Tank controls, a bit of old age jank as well. Yeah, it's like anything that doesn't work as you expect. Yeah, so I would say that.
I'm genuinely convinced that no one actually knows what it means.
I think we came up with
it's just a buzzword people say to dismiss old game design, regardless
I do think it's a bit of that. I do think people do that, yeah,
of how well it actually works. And more so because it doesn't conform to modern or familiar conventions. Looking up the definition, it essentially boils down to, it's bad. But no one really elaborates on how so. It's like when people complain about games having bad writing in them, when that could mean a lot of things. Or it could mean nothing. The way most people seem to use the term, it seems to imply some sort of awkwardness or not behaving in the way the player expects it.
I think that's a good definition. Jank is a player's perception that video game does not behave in ways that it should. Yeah, I think you've just gotten a good definition right there. You know what I mean? What?
Again, this is still pretty vague and honestly doesn't even sound like an inherently bad thing. It has the potential to run off into user unfriendliness, but
I think it depends, really. Like, I suppose tank controls by modern stand. What's it? I think tank controls over the modern standards seem like janky, but I suppose you can kind of get used to it. You know what I mean? I suppose you can kind of get like, are tank controls really objectively bad when technically you can adjust yourself to learn it? And it technically isn't janky anymore, I suppose. So yeah, I suppose it's not inherently bad, you're right. But I think there's a certain level of modern sensibilities that you can expect a player to account for, and there's certain bits where I'm just like, I think that's a bit unfair to account for. You know, like so if somebody said the fact that you have to go to a Pokemon Center to save in Pokemon Coliseum was like too much jank for me. I'd be like, that feels a bit unfair. But someone not being able to like figure out tank controls or intuitively learning tank controls for an old Resi game, I think that's fair. I think there's a fair amount of like, okay, it takes a long while to get used to it, so I can see you not willing to cross that barrier, you know? So it kind of depends, really. I think Google gave you a good definition, though. I think it did, but either way, I think he's going to elaborate, so I'm not going to hold him to this too hard, but I think the issue with the definition is that some players aren't engaging with it fully or playing as they should, or they dismiss it as jank. Yeah, I think it's definitely a bit of socialization because kind of ruined that term. It's like mid. Mid is supposed to mean middle of the road or mediocre, but, you know, what's it? Mid just means like bad or like terrible. Some people say mid to mean bad, some people say mid to mean terrible, some people say mid to be above average. Like it's one of those words where it's just kind of become ruined by the passage of time, you know? What do tank controls mean? It's a bit like what's it? When literally the game controls like a tank, right? As in like forward moves you forward at all times. At all times, forward moves you where you're looking forward, and you press left and right to kind of like adjust your character left or right, essentially. So like forward always moves you forward, but you have to adjust the character left or right to like move forward, essentially. So like controls like how a tank would move, essentially. That's what that means. So that's what tank controls are.
But I feel like this becomes extremely subjective depending on who you ask and how you look at it. I literally, a few hours ago before writing this, had a conversation with some friends about this, and we all had a hard time agreeing on what's really considered jank. We disagreed on a lot of the examples being brought up to each other. Is it the result of datedness? If that's the case, does that mean jankiness is relative to a game's age? Could all the games we play today be considered janky one day? A game you consider really well designed could be widely written off with this innocuous umbrella term one day.
Yeah, it's just one of those words where when you hear someone use the word jank, it's like you should put that on the list, chat. You know the list, the rolling Somusty list I've given you of terms where when you hear a person use, you should consider them a bit of a hack fraud reviewer, overrated/underrated, mid. You know, like the jank is another one. Like the game feel, it's one of those terms. Buzzword barriers, exactly. Like vibes. It's like unless you can use them, but you have to explain. You know what I mean? If you're saying jank, okay, what makes it jank? If you say it has vibes, what makes it vibey? If you're gonna say mid, what makes it middle of the road to you? Or using mid to mean bad, or using mid to mean a bit like, what do you mean? Feels like Spider-Man. Like, yeah, it's one of those terms where if someone doesn't elaborate, you can consider them like a hack fraud reviewer, you know? Yeah, or is it on?
And I imagine you probably wouldn't appreciate that.
Soul is
While awkward, clunky design will always be a factor to consider, it'll never be the end-all for whether a game's design is actually well thought out and meaningful. I understand some design choices in old games were the result of technological limitations at the time, however, this is also true for every other form of art. Digital drawing tools didn't always exist, films didn't always have CG. Part of the artistic process is working around the limitations of the tools available at the time.
I would say, maybe he'll touch upon this. Hang on. I just want to quickly pause to add, which is what I would say, but I think video games are in this unique area where you're controlling the game, therefore it has to feel intuitive for not only the people playing at the time, but the people playing it, say, 10, 20, 30 years from now. You can always enjoy a movie that was like 10, 20, 30 years old as intended, essentially, right? It's a lot more easy, should I say, than it is to enjoy a game as intended because sensibilities change. Whereas with movies, that sort of thing can happen, but like it's a lot less interactive, so it's much less likely to occur. Is he going to touch upon that?
And thus, the achievement in overcoming that hurdle shouldn't be dismissed. Dare I say, it might even be worth witnessing for yourself. That rant aside, I wouldn't hold it against anyone for not enjoying a game because they just couldn't adjust or get used to the way it plays.
Yeah,
I once saw a video here on YouTube about this topic. I will keep the uploader anonymous this time.
Ooh.
As much as I disagree with their position, I know some people can get very overly protective of the original versions of games.
Ooh,
and
really? Oh, gamers being chuds, huh?
I don't want this person to get harassed. So, in this video, the uploader gives an anecdote about how their friend just couldn't get into Kingdom Hearts 1 because of things like the camera, the platforming, and Sora's stiff movement. Now personally, I'd argue Kingdom Hearts 1 Sora is more mobile than people think, but that's besides the point. They propose that a remake would not only help better introduce people to the game, but also allow them to share their love for the game with a new audience. On one hand, I can understand this sentiment. It sucks when you try to introduce someone to one of your favorite things, but they just can't share that same enjoyment with you. Here's the thing though, as much as it sucks, maybe the game just isn't for them. This
True.
doesn't just go for anyone trying to introduce it.
I think that's a sentiment that I think the sooner people learn, the better. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. I think it's one of those things that it's just sadly, a lot of people just haven't realized. I mean, it took me a while to realize too, so I'm not like faulting anyone, but I think in an online landscape where things are fed to you constantly, so it's just kind of like you just intuitively assume that things are meant for you. It could be very easy to just assume that like everything you see, like, you know, I mean, like the thought of not everything being meant for you is not something that intuitively comes up, you know. And sometimes that can be the case. I don't think it was for those reasons specifically I didn't beat KH1 either. Was it because the game sucks and Kingdom Hearts sucks and is bad? Yeah, I said it. Crash Bandicoot better.
A game to someone. This applies to yourself too. This applies to anyone who wants to like a game but just can't. I noticed this a lot with Persona 3 before it was remade. A lot of people very strangely wanted a remake of this game that they didn't even seem to enjoy outside of the general idea or general story points. It felt more like they desperately wanted to enjoy it out of some sense of FOMO. I got the sense these people really just wanted to be in on it, without actually engaging with the ludonarrative gameplay that played a huge role in defining that game. I've already defended Persona 3 to hell and back in another video that I'll just link here, so I'm not gonna waste your time with that again. I'm not even trying to give people shit if it's not their cup of tea, that's totally fine. Okay, listen guys. You know it's okay to just not like things, right? If you
No, I can't. What the hell would you mean? Anyone? No, I have to like things. I have to like. No, you can't say that, Bubble Tea. No, what do you mean? I have to like. Gamers, I have to dislike the video now. He's telling me I can't like things. That's mean. That's mean and wrong.
You don't like a game that's well regarded by a lot of people? That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. You could make like 700 video essays about that. That's what you have to do instead, chat. That's what you have to do instead. If you don't like Tears of the Kingdom, I hate Tears of the Kingdom. Million views, easy. Come on now.
To make an example of myself, I fucking hate Persona 2 Innocent Sin.
Oh,
while there are some aspects
you can't hate things, no!
that I appreciate about it, the narrative doesn't speak to me. I think the characters are overhyped, and I fundamentally disagree with the game's design philosophy. Eternal Punishment is better, and while I don't dislike it, I still have some reservations about it, many of which are simply remnants that carried over from Innocent Sin. But you see, I was more than ready to just accept that I don't like the game and move on afterwards. While I don't doubt a Persona 2 remake would sell well, my first thought upon finishing these games wasn't to sit on my thumbs for a remake that'll appeal specifically to me. Sometimes, your tastes don't align with the creator's vision, and that's totally normal. Games don't have to be made for everyone. I'm not against a remake being made. I don't doubt a remake could provide good gameplay additions and changes. I just don't need it.
I mean, that's fair enough, but like when you say that, is it because, well, you said it's because like the game design is just you're fundamentally opposed to it. But could it be that, like, for example, someone else really enjoyed this, but like say the controls are really shit and they couldn't really enjoy it because of that? Like when you say that, the implication is that it's. But and actually, I don't know. To be honest, I'm taking your word for it. But could there be other reasons as to why somebody would want a remake of Persona 2 that isn't just I want a remake just to want a remake? Like I'm sure there are other games where people didn't like, but could probably use a remake because, like, say the controls are like really fucking annoying or some things are really unintuitive. Because when you show me an old game, a game that I'm assuming it's quite old, right? Hang on. Let me see before I speak out my ass. Persona 2 release date. 1999? Yeah, like if you're telling me a game from like 1999, I feel like this is like the prime era of a game that like fucking needs a remake. You know, like I'm sure the controls in this are shit. I'm sure like someone said the Persona summoning is really annoying to do. So like, this feels like a game that could use a remake. Again, I'll take your word for it in that the game is just fundamentally flawed from a design perspective. As a result, even a remake couldn't fix it. But it could, if that makes sense. It could do it. I don't know, to be honest. Is the PSP re-release? Oh, is it? So it got re-released already? Maybe you could use another one. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like what I'm saying is that this era of games is like prime remaster territory. So even if I take your word for it, this doesn't necessarily need like another remaster, should we say, other than the PSP one. I feel like games of this era could definitely use one, because maybe they could like retool the game, like design-wise. If you love a game except the one thing that would ruin it, I think asking for a remake that fixes it understandable. Yes, like I think that's fair. So if this is what I'm assuming in this example that's not what he's getting at. But if there are examples, especially of this era, where it's controls, I think controls are legitimately a reason to want a remake. I think that there's a big one. I'll say there's a big one. Mr. What game do you think genuinely needs a remake? As I said, I think the other two Metroid Prime games, like 2 and 3, could use a remake for like to modernize their controls. I don't know what other games do you think needs a remake, chat? I don't know, to be honest. I'd love enough Time Splitters 2 that just uses normal shooter controls as well, obviously. I'd like that, personally. Just me.
Like, I think there are more important things in life than a Persona 2 remake. I don't know, that might just be me.
No. Hang on. Are you hang on. Persona 2 remake is the only thing I want now that you've said that. Okay, I'm disliking the video again.
Now, this is normally the part where someone brings up quality of life and accessibility.
Oh, this is what I was talking about, yes!
I feel like people greatly misunderstand what either of these terms mean. When the average normie on the internet says the word accessibility, that motherfucker ain't talking about settings to help blind people see the stuff on screen, or...
Are they not? What are they talking about then? Do you tell me, Bubble Tea?
Make the visual effect safer for epileptic people. You know, stuff that would actually benefit the cause of accessibility.
Okay, I'm guessing they mean accessible as in like easy to buy and find, which, like, is it necessarily wrong to use accessibility in those terms? Because I think accessibility can be both, right? Accessibility is an accessibility options, and accessibility is how easy it is to access the game. Oh, like, are those not analogous? Like, would it be fair to someone to use the same word in the same way? I would say so. I don't know. But maybe I'm cutting off too soon.
I'm talking about the guy who hates turn-based RPGs complaining that the turn-based RPG is too hard for him. If we're going to accept video games as a form of art, we need to accept that not every work of art is made for everyone.
Well, yeah, of course. But, like, again, sometimes some quality of life features are just really fucking good. You know, like, maybe. Like, I understand that, like, okay... Like I understand the sentiment. Don't get me wrong. That like, yeah, obviously not every game is made for everyone. If video games are art, some art is naturally going to be inaccessible to some people. Hang on, let me finish my point. One sec, CJ. But I still think
the PSP.
Give me a sec. I still do think that if they can make the game a bit more accessible in a way that doesn't compromise the original vision, I would say there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. So, for example, if somebody wanted to like play, you know, Tropical Freeze, for example. Tropical Freeze is a fucking hard-ass game, right? Hard. Tough as nails platformer, right? Anybody saying otherwise is just wrong. So if someone wants to play it with the funky mode, I feel like the funky mode adds enough, smooths out the difficulty enough for someone to enjoy it without necessarily, like, breaking the experience. At least to me, anyway. I like, is that not something you can also factor in? I don't know, quality of life accessibility shouldn't be the sole reason the game gets a remake. It should be a mix of demand as well as potential. Well, no, definitely not. I think there should be like more things. I think modernizing is. I think modernizing a game is an important factor for a remake. And I think part of that modernization can be making it more accessible. I think it can be one factor in that regard. In the same way, like I think Tropical Freeze is a good example. I think if the difficulty is what makes the game, I would say. Fair enough, I suppose. Like maybe you could say that. Like if they were to remaster, like say they remaster the original 6 Mega Man games on the NES, right? Like modernized them and like gave them remakes, right? Maybe I can understand. Like, and if they got rid of the live system, like I suppose they've kind of modernized it for modern like standards where we don't have lives. But I would make the argument that the lives in that game is what makes Mega Man. Like the having to manage lives I think is an important aspect for the enjoyment of the game, at least to me. So I'm just like, I understand, like, I think the option to have save states was a nice compromise, because I could just choose not to use them and other people can use them if they want to. So at least in the Legacy Collection, it wasn't obviously a remake, it was a port, but I don't know, there's I think there's ways to go about it. I understand his sentiment in that obviously not every game is made for everyone, Like he said, was it the guy who hates turn-based RPGs wanting a remake of a turn-based RPG? Yeah, that guy's a fucking idiot. But like, are more people like? How many of those people are you actually talking to though? I just can't see that many people wanting a remake of the game where the person fundamentally hates what the game is. Like, when chat, like if we're talking right now, like, what's a reason to remake a game? You know, modernize the controls, make the like, sand off the rough edges. You know, like, these are the reasons why most people are like making it accessible to a modern audience. Let's say it's a game on the GameCube. You know what I mean? Like, I would say, like, these are generally the reasons why people want a remake. I can't really see too many people in this camp that you've made up. But I get what your overall point is though. Even if a game is meant to be difficult, you can have workarounds like another Crab's Adventure, Souls-like. At least you have a gun that one-shots everything. Yeah, I think there is a way to go about it. It depends on the intent. A story-driven game can have easy accessibility, but a platform is about the skill of the game, so it easily defeats the main purpose of the game. Yeah, I would say so. It depends on the intent. It's such a This is a way more multifaceted conversation than I thought it was going to be. I'll be honest with you, but interesting.
And thus, we need to accept that not every work of art is made for everyone, and thus, neither is every video game. Accessibility doesn't mean it has to appeal to everyone, including the people who can't even be bothered to engage with the game's mechanical depth or challenging themes. Those things shouldn't—
my bad, sorry, Donor. My bad, CJ. I'm a bad streamer today. I'm ill. Okay, I'm ill. I'm ill.
Master of Persona 1 and the gameplay and controls sucked so much that I'm praying we get a remake one day.
We need a remake of the remake. And then what's going to happen, CJ? We need a remake of the remake of the remake. When's the end? When's the end? CJ, when's the end? Thanks for the donor. Sorry for taking long. It's interesting. The debate game is. We're already debating today, aren't we? My brain is like at half capacity and I'm debating really hard. We're debating. We're getting really debatey today. Hey, Moresty, what's a Switch 2 game you're most excited for? Metroid Prime 4, okay. I'm a Metroid guy. I've played Metroid. I'm a Nintendo fan. I've played Metroid.
Have to be compromised, but we're at a point where game developers might not feel like they have much of a choice. This could honestly branch off into its own separate video, but for now, let's get back to quality of life adjustments. Yeah, I like quality of life enhancements. The one feature I will always point to in terms of quality of life enhancements is Final Fantasy's ATB gauge. The original Final Fantasy IV didn't even show your time gauge, despite introducing the active—
Happy Mother's Day. I mean, happy Mother's Day to you Americans. All right, we already had ours, and I gave my mum some presents. So, yeah, go hug your mums, okay?
Time battle system. Later versions of the game would add quality of life enhancements, without actually changing the game's mechanics. Not only was the ATB gauge visible now, but now you could see the amount of time it took to cast your spells in addition to turn wait times. Does this inherently change the way the game works? No. It gives the player a little more information. It might slightly affect your choices when choosing what spells or abilities to use, but it won't drastically change the way the game is played. The casting times were always there, now they're just more visibly indicated. The game is more user-friendly without needing to compromise the mechanics. What a lot of people expect out of remakes nowadays is to simply morph an older entry of a series to the convention set by the newest one or other modern contemporaries. I can understand this to an extent.
Yes,
video games were still trying to figure themselves out back then. What's known to work wasn't as well known back then. Adjusting to some modern conventions is warranted and can make jumping into a game less cumbersome for the new player. At the same time though, conforming too hard might actually work against the game. You know the complaints about how modern video games all feel the same? That might be a direct result of conforming games to what the majority thinks X type of game should be. Persona 4 should play more like Persona 3 Reload and Persona 5. Devil May Cry 1 should be remade to play like 5. They should remake Kingdom Hearts 1 to be like 3. Dude, they should remake my life to be more like Dinkelberg's.
You know, fair. I get it. I think it's all about intent. It's all about, yes, exactly. I think there's wow, another interesting debate chat. I think it's understandable. It kind of depends. It kind of depends. You know, it all just depends. It all depends, Mr. Bubble Tea. Honestly, it depends. No, I get what you mean, though. I get what you mean. This is just all It just depends. It depends. Okay, it's such a multifaceted conversation, isn't it? Would, like, for example, would you say that like making Metroid Prime's controls easier or like more intuitive for modern day ruined it? I would say it enhanced it. There's obviously other changes that you could say could make it worse. Like, there's so many examples that you can give for remakes that did it well versus remakes that did it poorly. Like, there's so many. This is another conversation you can get into, but we'll move on.
I feel like these
I
types.
think we'll leave it at, like, yeah, if it harms a game's identity, if it conforms too much, yeah, exactly. Like, if a game had a very unique style and they remade it to like kind of conform to like modernity without any sort of like adherence to its original style, then yeah, that's a bad thing. It always is. Mario 64 remake with Odyssey controls. Oh, come on now. Listen, stop it.
Of mindsets do come with some underlying intent of burying anything that doesn't conform to said conventions. That's not quality of life or accessibility.
Is there any examples you can give? Like, I'd love to hear some
That's
examples.
just fundamentally changing the game. That being said, I think this might be indicative of a deeper issue.
What's the deeper issue? Loss of identity. Oh. Game is who am I? Who are you? What am I?
Remakes were once about preserving, celebrating, and carrying on a game's legacy, but have slowly become a form of revisionism. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that people seem a little too eager to conform all the entries of a series to be like the newest one. Like, what's with people treating their favorite series of video games like a monolith? I get that every game in a series...
I think Persona's... Okay, but hang on. I think if the example you're going to use is Persona, I think Persona's in this relatively unique position where... I would say, hang on, let's look up some numbers. Like, because obviously I was going to flippantly say that Persona 5 was the one that put it on the map, but I think that's fair to say, right? I think there's a good chunk of people that have played 5 but have never played any other games. Do you know what I mean? So when people say that in particular when it comes to Persona, I think it's a bit different than when people say that to other video games. Do you know what I mean? I think it's very, very, very different. I don't think people would say this exact thing with like Mario or Sonic to anything. I think people would say the reverse when it comes to Sonic. I think people want Sonic to have more control, not less control. But let's see what's going on. Let's see. Have we got some sales? Have we got some charts? Yeah, I think if this chart is anything to go by, was it the Persona 5 games and all its various spin-offs, what, 10 million? Persona 5 Royal 3 million, and the others like sold like a million each apart, but like this game was the one that, like, do you know what I mean? Persona 5 fans on their way to never play the game. True. So it's like when it comes to Persona, I think you're in a unique position where there's like a good chunk of the new fans who've just never played any other game, so they kind of just want more of this if they're going to remake a game. You know what I mean? I think so. I think Persona's in this weird spot, so I don't know, if you ask me anyway, from the outside looking in. I know, I personally really like Metroid Fusion. I think it has some rough edges that would really benefit on a remake style similar to Dread. I think it could. Does it need to? I wouldn't say it needs it though. I would say it could use a remake, definitely, but I wouldn't say it needs it though. I think there's a difference there.
Is gonna share stuff in common with each other, but what's with this brute force effort to totally homogenize them? You know, it never felt like remakes were trying to do this in the past. Sure, there were still tons of remakes coming out before people started complaining about it, but this was before everything was cross-platform. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for cross-platform releases. My life became way easier once everything became available on PC.
I think everyone
I'm
did,
just
right?
pointing out the effect isolating games on certain hardware had on different versions. There wasn't much threat of a remake outright replacing or invalidating any other version of the game. Unless you had a PlayStation Vita, you could not play Persona 4 Golden. The original Persona 4 was also available on the PS3 store at the time, so at the very least, the choice was there. Same thing with Persona 3 FES and Persona 3 Portable. These other versions were simply alternative ways to experience the game. Hell, this was even applicable to straight ports sometimes.
I do think I think to touch upon what you said, I do think it's very strange that like when a remake comes out, the original always seems to be delisted from the store, which is just like, I always think it's just a shitty thing to do. Again, I kind of get it. You want to point people to like the remake as opposed to the original, but like surely you'd give people the choice. Like I just think it's really fucking stupid. Like I always thought it was bad. Like what's it? Sonic Origins did it. That's the most recent example I can think of off the top of my head. Like they're releasing all the games like in a package, but they got rid of all the original ones. Like I think I still have my original Sonic CD on Steam. But like if someone wants to buy just Sonic CD now, they can't. They have to buy the Origins thing, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I do think that's just stupid because it kind of like does this sort of like erasure of like the originals. You know, you just name it something better. Yeah, exactly. Like name the original like like Sonic CD Classic, for example, and then Sonic CD Remake. Like just do something like that. I don't know. Like give people the option. Either way, like it's the same. You're getting the money either way, right? Like so if people see the remake and like fuck that, I want to buy the original, you're still getting money for people buying the original. Like it literally makes no sense. It makes no sense. You pissed off everyone for no reason. You know what I mean? I've always thought that was absolutely senseless to me. And if it wasn't for the fact that gamers are just like insane and will like are like very good at preserving stuff, I'd be a bit more worried about this. I'd be banging this drum a lot harder if it wasn't for the fact that whenever like stores do this, people always kick up a fuss and then like enable ways for people to play the original as easy as possible. You can say this for the Resident Evils. People love 7, but I don't think the new fans want to play the original games with clunky controls and fixed angles. Then 2 Remake came out and it's sold like mad. Yeah. I think it's how you present it. You know what I mean? It's such a this is such an interesting conversation that I really wish I didn't watch this video when I'm like half ill and half asleep, because I feel like there's much more I could have added if I was on my A game. It kind of makes sense for Nintendo since the NSO is still a subscription and the remake is full price, but the option for the original should still be there. Yeah, exactly. I think that's one thing that I think if we all could shake our hands and come to an agreement, I think the original should always be available. A lot of people playing original if the remake's different enough, they're just losing money. Yeah, exactly. It's literally just you're competing it with yourself. Do you know what I mean? It's insane. This video could have been 5 hours long. I feel like there's so many each topic on this video could have been its like own 1 hour video. I feel like, but maybe we're just good at waffling. I don't know. Completely overhauling a game gameplay-wise doesn't even completely take its identity. The music is probably still the same for the narrative and the saying. The core is probably still there. Are we literally? What's that? The fuck? Oh my god! Hang on. What's that problem? Hang on. What's that? Are we having a? Oh, are we really having a? Mad John just like, how did we get from a video about video game remakes and we're having a ship of Theseus moment? Holy shit! So if you guys don't know about this, it's in the Greek mythology, it's like how much of a ship's parts can you replace before you can technically call it a new ship? It's one of those like classic, paradoxes of like the past. We're having a ship. How much of a remake can you change before it no longer becomes a remake? Okay, then again, listen, I really wish I wasn't watching this video while half asleep. I really wish, because again, we're getting real deep into the weeds now.
Take Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess as an example. The Wii version doesn't replace the GameCube one just because it's for the newer system. The Wii's control scheme is so different from anything that came before it that it's harder to call it a straight upgrade. It's just a way to experience the game with motion controls instead. If you really wanted that for some reason, I don't know.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest, I kind of like the motion controls of Twilight Princess. Granted, I've not played it like lately. I thought it was just kind of neat, I thought it was kind of neat.
Hell, you could play GameCube games on the Wii, so you could just play the GameCube version on your Wii if you wanted to. Sure, there will and always have been debates over which version is better, but there realistically wasn't any threat of one version overwriting the other. They were just both available on modern systems, just exclusive to their own platforms. Remakes just had a really weird way of not stepping on the toes of their originals back then. Take Pokemon for example. Fire Red and Leaf Green were remakes of the Generation 1 games with the Gen 3 framework. You'd think this would be grounds for the type of remake I'm not as big a fan of, but I'd argue these might be the best Pokemon remakes. These were games for the Game Boy Advance, which could also play Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. Gens 1, 2, and 3 were all playable on one device. You can literally play the original Red and Blue versions on the same system. This was the best time to get into Pokemon, the Advanced generation. Heart Gold and Soul Silver sort of capture that energy being on the DS, which could play Game Boy Advance games. You had access to all the existing regions at the time, but not the original Game Boy games. Though at the very least you could argue people still had Game Boy Advances during this time. See, that's the difference between remakes of the past and remakes now. Nobody back then was shitting their pants over how much Gen 3 or 4's mechanics would fix Kanto and Johto. Let's be real now, most of us were dumb little kids who didn't understand most of the mechanical changes.
Yeah, but like, I think it's just the conversations. Again, we're just not children now. I think that's the difference. I think you're kind of like, I feel like you're kind of doing oh, things were so much better back then. No, I just think like as remakes have become more and more of an established thing, the conversation around them has evolved. That's just naturally what was always going to happen. And like, not only are we all adults now, so we can have this conversation as adults, but like, yeah, the whole conversation about remakes is just like fundamentally different now. As remakes have become more normalized as opposed to this like extra bonus thing, like, we have to have a more, well, don't have to, but it's much more interesting to have a more refined conversation about it. So I think you're just doing back in my day, people were, yeah, and also guess what? You didn't have a device on your phone where you could read every single dipshit person's take. I think that, if anything, that's the fundamental difference. I feel like remake culture now would be the same as it was back then. If we didn't have a device on our pockets that made us read every single dumb 14-year-old's takes on the internet. It's just that's how it works. Do you know what I mean? We become old now. We're old and skibbity. That's how it goes, you know? What about those who are adults even back then? Yeah, like, I'm sure they were, like, even people who were adults back then probably weren't having this same level of conversation because, like, remakes probably weren't as, like, established in video game, like, like as a cornerstone of video games they are now. Maybe they were having this sort of conversation. I'm sure if you were to read, like, reviews of Fire and Leaf Green back then, you would still see people saying, oh, but it's just a remake. It's just a remake. You know what I mean? I'm sure you'd see a bit of that. But, like, as we've all gone older and we're having these conversations now, like, and now that we have the platforms for everyone to have these conversations now, it's kind of evolved, you know? And obviously, as some parts of the conversation evolve, others devolve. That's just the nature of the internet, of course. So you can, depending on where you look, you know, there's good conversation with those with eyes to see, and there's bad conversation with those with eyes to see. It's just kind of how it goes. So, I don't know, you're kind of pulling an old man thing here, Bubbles. You're kind of being a bit old. You're being a bit old. I feel like the gripes in the video are more about game preservation than remakes themselves. Probably something like that. I feel like there's a bit of both. I don't know, again, I'm half asleep, so maybe I missed that part. It makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense for people to want more from remakes. Right? Yeah, exactly. Like, it wasn't gonna, the conversation was never always gonna be, oh, goo goo gaga, we're just enjoying a remake. Like, it was always gonna evolve. Like, I think it's just kind of reductive, but yeah, I think it makes sense for people's expectations to be higher. Like, people should be, yeah, like Rico Lee said, people's expectations should be higher because the game industry is bigger than ever before. We're paying more money for video games than ever before, right? Raise the price.
It's only in retrospect, after replaying the game so many times, that I really learned to appreciate their differences. I'll come back to both the originals and the remakes for different reasons. I know I'm cycling through the same few examples here, but Final Fantasy IV's DS and PSP versions are such good examples to use. What I respect about the DS version is that it doesn't just backport some mechanic from the newest Final Fantasy game, or try to be like FF7. It implements its own systems that complements the already existing mechanics of the game, rather than trying to replace or outright drop its older systems. I'm not gonna get into too many specifics, but the short version is, in the original game, stats would start increasing or decreasing randomly past level 70. The DS version's new augment system makes it so that stat growth past level 70 is based on what abilities you have equipped on a character. It's, by all means, a very respectful remake in my eyes. But guess what? They went and released another remake for the PSP 2 years later. This remake would take it a step further, being an almost one-to-one remake of the original, but with the Game Boy Advance's swappable party members and post-game content. I already mentioned the subtle but impactful quality of life changes earlier. They made both a faithful and fresher take on the game. Most remakes at the time still felt like the games they were based on. In recent days, it feels like that line has been getting blurrier.
I mean, yeah, I definitely think that's the case. Although, unless you're going to give me like a bunch of examples where they haven't, like I think the example where you've probably convinced me the hardest is Persona. Although I did say that Persona's in this unique place where Persona 5 like introduced so many new fans to the series that when people are discussing remaking the older games, they're of course gonna like frame it under the guise of we want kind of something like Persona 5, right? But like, are there any other game series that have like ended up in the same sort of like conversational like black hole? Because for me, like Persona, yeah, you convinced me on Persona. Are there any other remakes that have done the same thing? I don't necessarily feel like that. When you say there's like a culture of this sort of thing, I could believe you if you gave me more examples. Maybe you will as this example kind of continues. But like, Like, is there, or are we just doing like, oh, my childhood? Like, could you do this maybe? I don't know, to be honest. I don't know.
Like, you can tell there's an effort being put in to keep the spirit of the original in there, but it also feels like the game is at conflict with itself, stuck between trying to live up to the original but also trying to be as sanitized and smoothed out as possible to appeal to the highest denominator. Trying to attract a modern audience is one thing. Trying to attract an audience the game wasn't meant to appeal to is another. But being simultaneously available in
Hang on. Can I hear that again? One second.
To attract a modern audience is one thing. Trying to attract an audience the game wasn't meant to appeal to is another.
I mean, I suppose you're not wrong, but is it necessarily so bad for a remake to try and target a different audience? Is that necessarily a bad thing? Because you can have the remake that targets the original audience. I mean, you can. I feel like you can do both. Or I feel like maybe you could argue you need to do both. You know, because like, is a remake's job always to appeal to the older fans? Or can it appeal to the older fans and maybe new fans and maybe newcomers who have never tried this game now? Like, does it necessarily have to only appeal to the old fans? Like, again, it's another interesting conversation as to, like, what should a remake be? Is it better if it's like older fans should be the priority, I think? I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Because even as someone as a fan of older media, I can just play the original game if I really wanted to, like, a game that appeals to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I think. Like, maybe the only times where, again, Metroid Prime is the example I can go. It's the one I can use because the only thing I wanted in a Metroid Prime remake is fixed controls. Anything that else they changed to, like, kind of adapt themselves, I probably would have been a bit more amenable to it. But I just wanted the same game with modernized controls. And that's exactly what I got with, like, new graphics and all this other jazz. But, like, if they did other things to appeal to, like, say, for example, they also added, like, an easy mode to appeal to, like, newer fans, like, maybe ease them in, I would have been a bit more okay with that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that wouldn't appeal to me specifically. It appealed to, like, newer Metroid fans, but I'm okay with that. It doesn't necessarily affect my enjoyment. Does that make sense? So, like, I feel like there's an element of respecting the source material while also attuning it to newer fans, while also maybe making it a bit more broader appeal. I feel like you can balance. I think the best remakes could balance all three. I feel like it could. Because if you're saying that, like, it shouldn't appeal to a new demographic, or, like, they shouldn't prioritize it in the slightest, what I would say is, why don't you just play the original? I think in the modern day where it's more easier than ever, while it might be harder to find original playthings and their original counterparts a lot harder than it used to be. I feel like with the various tools you could find on the internet, I feel like playing the original version is I won't say a lot easier, but it's easier now than it used to be like 10, 15 years ago, you know? Like, right now, like, guys, Dolphin is like one of the best emulators to ever exist on this fucking planet. Anything on the Wii and GameCube, you can literally just, in a finger snap, do you know what I mean? So I'm just like, so when you say that, I'm just kind of like, fuck, man, I don't know. I feel like it should appeal to new fans. It's supposed to be modernized for new standards. Maybe some people want to get into the original but didn't because of its shortcomings. Yeah, exactly. I feel like you can balance all three. So when he says it, let me hear the exact line again. Maybe I misheard. Hang on.
Trying to attract a modern audience is one thing. Trying to attract an audience the game wasn't meant to appeal to is another.
I don't see anything inherently wrong with that. Like, again, for example, if you're trying to make an RPG appeal to, like, shooter fans, yeah, obviously that's not going to work, right? But, like, I feel like there's maybe some sensibilities you can do to, like, appeal to, like, maybe fans who haven't necessarily gotten into an RPG. Like, I feel like you can. Personally, I just wouldn't make this statement. I feel like the statement's a bit reductive. Does that make sense? I feel like this statement is just a bit reductive. I don't know. To me anyway. I feel like you can balance all three. You can balance old fans, new fans, and potentially widening the scope for other people to potentially try the series. I feel like you could do all three. I feel like, anyway. Maybe I'm just too white-pilled. Maybe, who knows?
But being simultaneously available in the same era of games isn't the sole thing that made these remakes work. It was also how they were presented. Final Fantasy IV never presented.
I've seen it as game-changing itself a bit, just to appeal to a broad audience to its detriment, perhaps. Oh, there's definitely a way it could be to its detriment, 100%. Like, if you make a game too broadly appealing to the lowest common denominator at all costs, yeah, 100%, obviously. But, like, I feel like there's a way you could balance the three. Do you know what I'm trying to get? I feel like there's a ideal blend that you can do, you know? And I feel like to close the doors to that entirely is wrong. And that's kind of what his statement kind of implies. Unless he clarifies it further here. So let's hear him out.
any of its was also how they were presented. Final Fantasy IV never presented any of its versions as the way you should be playing the game, even after the Pixel Remaster came out. The DS version was already released on Steam at that point, but it's based on the shitty mobile and tablet ports, unfortunately. Regardless, there is no ultimate version combining features from all the past iterations. That's an expectation people impose on remakes whenever they're announced now. When given the choice between two games with the same title, the layman will usually choose the newer one. I think something that would help make the original look just as appealing to buyers of the remake would be bundling the original game with bulk purchase sales. Something like what Sega decided to do with Sonic Generations and Sonic X Shadow Generations. Like, imagine if Persona 3 Reload went on sale, and they made a special offer getting Persona 3 Portable bundled with it. It would help validate.
I feel like that'd be kind of cool. I feel like that's something that maybe more remakes should do. I always thought it was kind of cool that Halo, was it the Halo Master Chief Collection, like had a toggle where you could like go back to the old style of graphics. I always thought that was kind of a cool touch. I think maybe more games should do this sort of thing. Like I think I'd be a bit more okay with this.
Portables
but it seems like more. It's just, oh, a new game comes out, let's just unlist the old one and pretend it didn't exist. You know what I mean?
As a modern option, and also allow players to get the female route that Reload players would otherwise be.
That's not really what Shadow Gens was, though. I mean, yeah, but like, I'm almost certain that there was a bit of that to its to a degree. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm almost certain it was. Like, they probably wanted to, like, I guarantee you, they probably like made Shadow Generations and was like, okay, it's a bit too short to package on its own. Let's package it with a Sonic Generations remaster. I'm sure there was like a bit of both. I don't doubt that for a second.
Deprived of. The average Reload buyer might not have the incentive to buy Portable on its own, but if it's being offered to them with Reload, they might just spend the extra few bucks because why not? This isn't a perfect solution because some people just won't care and not all originals or remasters of originals are available alongside their remakes. Hell, the example I just gave didn't even include Persona 3 FES, because Persona 3 FES was never remastered for modern systems. A lot of the careful details and context I just gave could be considered minutiae to most people. Honestly, I've been slamming my head against the wall just writing this far in, but the most frustrating thing about it is that no matter how carefully I try to explain myself, I'm always gonna get hit with the same rebuttal.
Okay, oh man. I mean, there did have to be the video was too good, gamers. The video was too good not to get little people online, right? Oh man, it was too good. We had it too good, gamers. We had it too good. Hang on, let's see. It might not be that bad, chat. Hang on, hold.
The same song and dance. Shit, I forgot how it went. I think it went a little something like...
Okay, chat, at least he's addressing it, you see? He might be people onlining, but at least he might address it in a way that makes sense. Give him a chance. The video's been very good so far, so I'm gonna. He's earned some goodwill. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, I can genuinely see where people are coming from with this argument. Most people don't even go as far into detail in defense of their favorite old games like I do. A lot of them do just operate on vibes and feelings, and that's perfectly fine. Everyone does this to some extent, if it's over a game they truly care about. Otherwise, I don't think people would even care enough to have a discussion. Here's the thing though, that is not exclusive to the people defending the originals. I want you to take a step back and think about it for a second.
Okay.
Isn't the desire for remakes in itself very nostalgia-driven? You want devs to make these games all over again, then buy the game at full price all over again.
I mean, not really. I mean, maybe to some degree. I feel like that's a bit reductive. Because like when I said I wanted a Metroid Prime remastered, it's mainly because I just want to play the game again with controls that don't fucking break my hands. And I got that, and I'm very, very happy. Was it nostalgic? Like, was it a bit nostalgic? I suppose it's nostalgia, technically, right? Technically. But if I'm looking at it a bit more objectively, it's just really nice to be able to play these insanely good quality games without like your hands breaking apart. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's natural. Thank you. It's natural for people to want a better version of a game they like. I think it's natural. So when you say by extension, like when you're trying to like, hang on, can I hear that again? Let me hear that again. Hang on.
In itself,
Hang on, let me hear that again.
think about it for a second. Isn't the desire for remakes in itself very nostalgia driven?
I feel like it's just like, technically, Batman, you lose. It's like, again, a bit reductive, if you ask me, just a little bit. Maybe he explains. I'll give him a chance, but on the surface level, I'm just kind of like, that's strange.
You want devs to make these games all over again, then buy the game at full price all over again.
Yeah.
Then play it for the first time all over again, then be able to share that magical experience with all the other people also playing it for the first time
Yes.
all over again.
Yes.
Sounds pretty nostalgically motivated to me.
No, I just want to play Metroid Prime with normal controls. No, the video was so good. It was so good, Chad. No. Oh man, I'm so oh, it's over, gamers. It's over. One bad part of the video, therefore the whole video is bad now. No. He's been Discord poisoned. No. Oh man, like I get it. It must be really frustrating to see people constantly cry out for remakes. But yeah, I think you've just been. I think this is just a discourse poisoning. You know what I mean? I think there's a classic case of being discourse poison, which is unfortunate because I think you've made a very excellent video. That is like maybe the biggest flaw with this video is that you didn't go into enough detail, honestly, which is not really your fault. It's just this conversation is a lot more multifaceted than I initially thought, almost to the point where I regret watching this on 2 hours sleep. But yeah, I think this is definitely a bit where he's like, oof, you know what I mean? Unfortunate. The one for remakes isn't nostalgia driven. It's just the marketing, how companies sell the remakes. That's a bit remember that. Yeah, exactly. It can 100% it can come across as remember that. But there are games where like there are objective reasons to want a remake like that have nothing to do with nostalgia. Again, for me, it was, am I extremely nostalgic of Metroid Prime? Of course I fucking that's the one example I'm going to keep using. But like, I just wanted to fucking play. I just wanted normal controls, man, and I got it. And I'm so fucking happy, and I'm so glad there's probably a bunch of people who got to play Metroid Prime now, who have memories with that game the same way I do, because they just made the controls normal for normal people. I'm so fucking happy about that, man. So like, when you say this line, like, I think you're literally referring to me. Hang on.
All over again.
I did want to play it all over again. I did want to show people all over again, but I didn't want people to play it with bad controls. You know? Oh man, yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's a bit of a shame. Huh? I enjoy remasters as a way for newer gamer generation to catch up with gaming history as new fun current pain. Yeah, exactly. It's a shame. Hang on, let's gamers. It might get better. Come on. Give him a chance.
Sounds pretty nostalgically motivated to me. People got the nerve to complain about nostalgia pandering, too many show reboots, and live-action adaptations, when all they do is beg for remakes of old games.
Oh, for fuck. Oh no, gamers! The video is bad now! No! Goomba fallacy! In action right here! No! No! Bubble tea, no! You were doing so well! Oh, what a shame. Honestly, what a shame that he's bogged down such an excellent video with this horrible, like, level 0, like, double standard. Yes, maybe the kinds of people who are asking for remakes, maybe the kinds of people who say too many remakes, and the people saying they want more remakes aren't necessarily the same group of people. Maybe I know crazy, right? I don't know. It's insanity. This is what Twitter does to a motherfucker. Poor guy.
It's even wilder how people are nostalgic for the feeling of buying a product, which could be indicative of something wrong with actual new modern releases. That discussion is beyond the scope of this video though. I don't think it's wrong for people to not want the legacy of a work to be overwritten by its remake. I can't speak for everyone, but coming from me, I'm not against letting games that are close to my heart reach new audiences.
Okay.
I'm just not too hot on the idea of something that I feel doesn't accurately represent the thing I love being accepted as if it were what the original should have been all along.
Yeah, but like, I don't believe you when you say that. I'm gonna be honest with you, Bubble Tea. I don't believe you when you say that. When you say this, the implication is that Hang on. Let me hear it again. Let me hear it again, chat. Hang on.
I love being hot on the idea of something that I feel doesn't accurately represent the thing I love being accepted as if it were what the original should have been all along.
Who gets to decide whether it's an accurate portrayal or not? You? Like, is that what you're saying? Like, if somebody said to me right now, the remasters are an accurate portrayal of the original, but like, what the fuck do you mean by that? Does that make sense? Like, do you get, like, is it you that gets to decide? Like, who gets to make this arbitrary declaration as to whether a remake accurately portrays the original? Like, say for example, they remastered some of the Mega Man games, but they removed the lives, right? But they added some indication to make the game still tough as nails, right? Would I say, if somebody said they didn't really portray as accurately, I'd say, yeah, maybe they got rid of the live system, but they still introduced other systems to keep that tough Mega Man feeling in there. So I would say it is an accurate portrayal. Like, who gets to decide? Do you know what I mean? Like, who gets to decide? When you say this, I'm like, I don't necessarily agree. I don't necessarily disagree, but I'm like, that's like extremely subjective. And I think you open the door to like a type of conversation that's just not really too interesting, you know? They did that with Sonic Gens, but there's literally a toggle in the settings. Yeah, it's like, I don't know what to make of this. I really, really don't. It's such a shame. He's saying he doesn't want the game to have his game be liked for a completely different reason. But because now you have to separate the joy of the you have to separate you enjoying the original and not the retelling. I can understand it to a degree, but when he says that, it's like, firstly, are you the gatekeeper of who gets to enjoy this piece of media? But secondly, maybe in like the biggest, the best sort of argument I could understand this. Let's say, for example, again, they remake a game, they change up the story in a fundamental way, they change up the gameplay in a fundamental way, and people still love that. Would it be a bit annoying if people like love this game, but they fell in love with it for a different reason to what made the original so good? Again, let's use Mega Man as another pretend example, right? Let's say they remade Mega Man, like the original 6 Mega Man games, right? But instead of like remaking each game individually, they kind of remastered the games, but like as one big cohesive Mega Man game. And instead it's like open world where like you travel to each Robot Master's place, right? Would I be a bit annoyed that like what made those original 6 games so compelling to me is kind of lost in the remake? I suppose, but then again, if people are enjoying this new version of Mega Man that isn't exactly my version of Mega Man, but is similar but different enough for people to still enjoy, is that necessarily a bad thing? Firstly, it's not a bad thing. And would I be a bit annoyed that people are enjoying this game not for the same reasons I enjoyed the original game? I suppose, but for me, I just want more people to enjoy the games I like. I don't really care if the portrayal of a remake isn't exactly one-to-one with how the original goes by, as long as there's enough there. It just kind of, like, it feels a bit gatekeepy is what I'm trying to say. This sentence just feels, like, very gatekeepy to me. This sort of, like, reasoning. I don't know, like, there's something about it. Will there be a new game? I don't know if it'd be a new game. I'm just kind of, I'm trying to make up an example for something. I don't know if my examples are really making a lot of sense today. But if they remade a game I really, really enjoy, but then change the fundamental aspect of what I thought was fun, and other people find a different aspect of it fun, would that necessarily be a bad thing? I would say not really. I'm just glad that people are enjoying these games, maybe a bit differently from me, but I'm glad people are enjoying these games. I couldn't see myself being too annoyed. I don't know. Personally, I just couldn't see myself being too annoyed. Again, it's like if someone beat Tropical Freeze, but they beat it with Funky mode, right? Like, am I annoyed that they beat it with Funky mode? Not necessarily. I'm just happy that you played my fucking game. Is it necessarily the most accurate way to enjoy Tropical Freeze? No, I think one of the core parts of Tropical Freeze is its difficulty. I think that tough as nails difficulty really adds to the experience. But if you decided to play on an easier way that kind of took that away, would I be a little bit annoyed? Maybe. But honestly, I'm just happy that you played a game I like, you know? Even if it was in a different way to how I played it. I'm just happy you enjoyed it, man. Like, also, I think Man John is, like, currently playing all the original Mega Man games. Like, if he decided to use save states in between, like, every boss door so he didn't have to game over and go play all the level again, I'd be like, yeah, I'm a bit okay with that. I'm just happy that you're enjoying my games, man. Like, granted, if he save stated in between, like, every single time he got hit by a boss, then I might be a bit like, okay, like, are we playing a game or, like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, maybe I might be a bit, like, there's, like, an extreme to it, sure. But, like, like, do you know what I mean? I'm just kind of like, I don't see myself getting too annoyed. I just don't see it. I don't know. It's just strange. It's like the 1 4. No, you're because they enjoy the wrong. Yeah, it's just strange. Yeah, it's like I would not give a shit if you say. Yeah, like I think the Tropical Freeze example I gave is the better example. Would I be annoyed that somebody played Tropical Freeze and beat the entire game on Funky mode? If you're asking me now, I'd say absolutely not. I'm just happy that you played one of my favorite games ever made. If somebody played the original if someone played the Mega Man Legacy Collection, but like decided to put a save state in between every boss door, so they didn't have to like game over, risk gaming over, I would be okay with that. Like, is there an extreme you could take this sort of thing to? Of course, but for the most part, outside of extreme circumstances, I'm just extremely happy that you played the same game as me, even if it is in a slightly different way. So with this sort of mindset of, let me hear it one more time.
I'm just not too hot on the written by its remake.
Hang on, let me hear that again.
Wrong for people to not want the legacy. That discussion is beyond the scope of this video, though. I don't think it's wrong for people to not want the legacy of a work to be overwritten by its remake. I can't speak for everyone, but coming from me, I'm not against letting games that are close to my heart reach new audiences. I'm just not too hot on the idea of something that I feel doesn't accurately represent the thing I love being accepted as if it were what the original should have been all along.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm more happy that people finally played my game as opposed to playing my game the right way. I can't agree with this. I'll be real with you, Mob, I just can't agree with this. Maybe you could provide an example where there's like some sort of like extraneous circumstance, but in a general sense, if somebody played some of the games that are near and dear to my heart in different ways, I could not, again, bar extreme circumstances, I'm just happy you played my game, bro. I'm happy you played my game. If somebody wanted to play Pokemon Colosseum, like, again, Pokemon Colosseum is a game I have far too much nostalgia for. All right, I have far too much nostalgia for. Again, if somebody wanted to play that with save states, if someone wanted to play that with rewinds, if somebody wanted to play that, like, but modded all the Pokemon to, like, randomize it, I'm just kind of happy you played my game. Do you know what I mean? I'm just happy you played my game, bro. I'll be real with you. Sonic CD is another game I fucking love that I understand is so jank, not a lot of people might enjoy it. Like, again, if you played it with like a widescreen mod or something, I don't know, man. I'm just happy more people enjoy my games. Maybe I'm just too joyful and whimsical. Who knows? But I like it when more people play the stuff I like. There's a thing I'm talking about when I say people downplay remakes. I think I kind of get it. I kind of get what you mean. I don't think remakes need to be faithful necessarily, but they should understand the original, and ideally you should use that understanding to become even better. Yes, 100. No, I agree with this. 100%. Yes. But I think if a remake was to kind of lose what made the original fun, at least, but not so much that it would annoy me, I can't say that I'd care. Again, the perfect example is Funky Mode. I'm so glad I thought of Funky Mode. Funky Mode is the perfect example. Again, they remade Tropical Freeze, or they ported it to the Switch, but added a easier difficulty mode in Funky Mode. If somebody beat the entire game with Funky Mode, I'm okay with that. As much as I believe a fundamental part of my enjoyment of Tropical Freeze is the difficulty, if you thought it was too difficult but you still wanted to enjoy all the game anyway, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that person. I have no qualms with you personally. But yeah, it can make a discussion of story or lore certain games a bit more difficult depending on how much the remake changes. But otherwise, I agree. No, again, there are definitely examples. There are definitely examples where I can agree with this. But I'm saying in a general sense, I can't see this mindset in a general sense. But let's continue with the video. We could talk about this fucking video for hours. We really can.
I don't like my enjoyment of something being written off as, you were just 12. Especially when I was an adult playing some of these games for the first time.
I mean, yeah, but that's just the internet. Oh, these people online this is so bad. I should probably move from the shot, but like, this is bad, I'll be real.
I also need to put into perspective that, yes, I do feel nostalgia for the past, but I need to make clear where that nostalgia comes from. It doesn't inherently come from the games themselves. It comes from the memories associated with those games. I'm not nostalgic for Tak 2 itself. I'm nostalgic for the time I had a sleepover at my house and my friends got to play that game with me. I'm not nostalgic for quirky game mechanics. I didn't even fully understand how they worked my first time playing. Those are things I had to gain appreciation for over time. I don't look back at games simply to seek out things that I already liked about them. I look back at them and find new things all the time. Some are things that I'll like, some I won't like as much. To anyone still insistent that this is all still just nostalgia blindness, let me pose a question for you.
Okay.
What's more nostalgia blind? Accepting a game with its flaws and appreciating its quirks, or desperately wanting to revise it into the romanticized version in your head? Why do you think people still want Pokemon Black and White remakes, even after the questionable quality of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl?
I think most people have kind of, yeah. Man. I stand by the only way you can play a game wrong is if you're not enjoying yourself, and maybe playing another way it would make you enjoy my true. Like, I think, listen, come on now. I want to hear that back again.
Its quirks? What's more nostalgia blind? Accepting a game with its flaws and appreciating its quirks, or desperately wanting to revise it into the romanticized version in your head.
Why not? Why can't we have both? Yeah, again, I think other people point this out because again, I'm off my meds. I'm off my meds, chat. Yeah, like the implication is we can't like. Is this necessarily like a? Why not? Why not both? Yeah, it's like you're wording it in your favor again. Like, what do you? Yeah, I can. Yeah, Pokemon, bruv. Pokemon Colosseum is a game. Again, I fucking love Pokemon Colosseum. Not because I'm nostalgic for it, because it is the literal best example I can give you right now. That game is fucking quirked up as shit, bro. Most of these shadow Pokemon you can catch in that game are Johto Pokemon, which to someone playing it now be like, wait, why the fuck all the encounters I get Johto Pokemon? Johto sucks. Well, that's true, but like at the time, Pokemon Colosseum served as a way to get the Johto Pokemon because, you know, Gen 2 was completely inaccessible, so you had like Fire Red Leaf Green for the Gen 1 Pokemon, you had RSE for the Gen 3 Pokemon, so Pokemon Colosseum served as a standard for the Johto Pokemon, so they had to make most of the encounters Johto Pokemon. So like, playing it in the modern day though kind of sucks. Like, you want more than just Johto Pokemon with like a bit of Plusle and Absol, right? And a remake would be perfect for that. It could like widen the Pokedex a bit more, give you more encounters instead of just Johto shitters, right? So for me, that's both. You know what I mean? It's a bit of both. I love the game for its quirks and how, you know, if you're gonna play that game, you better be all Johto. You better be used to fucking finding Johto Pokemon. You better get used to bumping into your NPC companion who just gets in the fucking way all the time. Yeah, there's a lot of quirks in that game, and I fucking love the game regardless. Do I still want a remake that would fix all its fucking flaws? There's a bear shit in the woods, lad. What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? Oh, no. No, Bubble Tea, no. You created a false dichotomy to kill these people online that you've just made up. Oh, no. Oh, no. I could also say thinking a shit game is good because I was 12 or wanted the game to be better. If I was sitting there, yeah, exactly. It's bad faith, isn't it? Because I could rephrase this. Yeah, you could easily rephrase this entire sentence to make it sound way worse, didn't you? Oh, man. Oh, Bubbles. Listen, this paragraph is... Hang on, let me move aside. This paragraph is almost over, chat, so the video can start being good again. The video can start being good again, so let's hang on, guys. Let's hang on.
Why do you think people still want Pokemon Black and White remakes, even after the questionable quality of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl?
And also, yeah, I don't believe... Yeah, after the BDSP, I think no one wants a Black and White remake. I'll be real with you. No one wants it.
Hell, if you ask me, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are where Pokemon remakes started to go downhill.
Oh, yeah, that's just a cold take, really, but don't let the Zoomers tell you that.
Why do you think Pokemon remakes became a tradition? Why are people more excited for remakes than wholly new IPs?
Because remakes are just easy. People are too used to being comfortable, that's why.
Do these games truly need remakes?
No. The boomer hates Oras, not surprised. Listen, Emerald is just way better. Yeah, if you want Gen 3, just go play Emerald, bro. Just play Emerald, little bro. The only reason you enjoyed Oras is because it was on your fucking shitty 3DS. That's why, okay? You zoomers are zooming too hard, okay? It's not bad. It was a good remake, okay? I'm not saying it was a bad remake, but Emerald solos. Physical special split? Excuse me? Elemental Punch Alakazam? Another libtard owned.
Video games can certainly benefit from being remade. I would even argue that some games could benefit more than others, but there is never an inherent need to redo a whole-ass game. That is something we ascribe to it ourselves.
Megas go burr. You don't get most of the stones until the post-game. A second liberal has been owned. Anyway, sorry.
That some games could
let's
benefit.
Let's engage with the video, okay? I could own you guys all day on Oras discourse, okay? No, but let's actually watch the video, alright?
Certainly benefit from being remade. I would even argue that some games could benefit more than others, but there is never an inherent need to redo a whole-ass game. That is something we ascribe to it ourselves. No game needs to be remade.
Okay, rather, that's just really reductive, isn't it? No game needs to be remade? Yeah, exactly, like, no one needs to breathe, but I kind of like staying alive, bro. Like, hopefully he's going somewhere with this sentence, but I'm just like what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Let's find out. Hang on. Let's see.
it's you who feels the need for it.
No.
Whether it be due to FOMO or clinging on to nostalgic memories, it's not something the game itself needs.
What the? Okay, this video fell off so hard. Oh my god. The fall off of bubble tea has to be studied. Listen, I was willing to give you a pass for the people online segment. I was like, okay, we're gonna get to the next paragraph and the video is gonna be good again. Holy brother, holy reductive arguing, Batman. Yes, gamers, hang on. All of us on the same side, chat. Yes, you are technically correct. No game needs a remake. Yeah, but why the fuck do we all enjoy them nonetheless? Because they... This is terrible. This is terrible. Hey, brother, you gotta pick this shit up, brother. You gotta pick this shit up.
It's really about your needs. No, I'm not against remakes being made in general.
Okay,
I'm
good,
not saying devs should stop making remakes forever.
Okay, I'm glad. Okay, guys, you might pay. Hang on. Let him cook, chat. Let him cook again.
I'm just merely suggesting that maybe we don't need them as badly as people think. If we're gonna push the idea that games are a form of art, then maybe we should start treating them like it. When a person does a redraw of a character
Okay,
or
but games are different though! No! No! Fucking... I'm so mad! I'm actually so mad, chat. I'm actually so fucking mad! Because this video was so good! This video was so fucking good! And then he talked about Twitter, and he fell on my fucking clap! I've had it. Twitter ruins everything. Twitter ruins fucking everything. Holy shit. Hang on. Motherfucker. Listen, no one can ever recreate the Mona Lisa, okay? That was Leonardo da Vinci's magnum opus, all right? When it comes to if somebody told me right now, hey, Moresty, do you want to play the original Resident Evil? Oh, let me boot on my PS1 that I have. What the fuck are these controls, bro? I ain't playing this shit. Oh, hey, Moresty, how about this handy remake that makes it... Wow, now the game is playable. Thanks, bro. Oh, wow, crazy stuff. I can't believe this. Oh, I'm ill. I shouldn't be straining my throat. I shouldn't be. Can he fix it, gamers? Gamers, give him a chance. Give him a chance, gamers. I'm still holding hope.
Famous artwork, most people are able to recognize the redraw as its own work and not a replacement, even if they might prefer the redraw. Why are we able to recognize the value of the original here, but less so with games?
Who's we? Who says this? Again, who is saying this? Who is we? Have you just made people... Hang on, can I hear that again?
Recognize the value of the original here, but less so with games.
Who says this? No, I'm serious. This is the part where like you show me like examples of videos. You show me like maybe Reddit posts with a couple of thousand upvotes. You show me like Twitter posts where like you need to give me you need to like prove to me the viewer that this is a thing, because I've never heard this before. No, chat, help me. If you actually like here one more time, chat, help me.
Work and not a replacement, even if they might prefer the redraw. Why are we able to recognize the value of the original here, but less so with games?
I've legit heard no one say this. I need help. Like, are you fighting Twitter again? Who is we? I need to know. Are you boxing shadows? Who the fuck are you talking about? I'm serious. Who are you talking about? I'm so confused. Are we talking about the console? Are we talking French? Voulez-vous français? Good lords. Games aren't the same what other mediums are because they're interactive. People do recognize the value of the original whenever a game gets remade. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, hey, Rico, do you want to finish writing this guy's video for him? Because someone said, hang on, someone just said use ChatGPT to complete it. Bro, normally I time someone out for that level of slander because I think that's a mean thing to say. But crazy, huh? You did just shit on the original Resident Evil. No, I was proving a point in that that's the inherent value of a remake. The value is I get to play it in like a modern setting. That's not to say that you can't see any value in the original. What it is that since games are interactive, it might be harder to appreciate without modern sensibilities to take into account. I'm gonna try to phrase my point. The point is that's what the inherent value of a remake is. Like with an artwork, you don't need to remake a piece of art. Someone 50 to 100 to 150 years from now can still appreciate it. But with video games, there might be the inherent barrier of the controls that might stop you from appreciating the same way it could have, right? That's what I'm getting at here. So when he says this, I just don't get it.
To recognize the value of the original here, but less so with games.
It's because like it's because since games are interactive, it's a lot harder to appreciate the inherent value of what it is when people just aren't used to a certain way of doing it. Like, yeah, you don't go to a painting and go, the controls are shit, I hope someone remakes it. Like, that's just not how it works. Like, with video games, it's different. Video games are just wholly different, you know what I mean? Like, if I was looking at Resident Evil, then it'd be different than playing it. It's different. It's a different medium. That's why it's different. It's different.
Let remakes stand as their own works instead of viewing them as a substitute. It's okay to make improvements over the original, but they should be in service of the original game's design, not at odds with the original, but they should be viewing them as a substitute.
Games are both art and tech toy, which gets remakes. Yeah, it's like, again, I think that's why. I think when people talk about video games as art, I think this is probably like one of the reasons you could say it isn't. I think did someone just say that in the chat? I think, yeah, it's like, I'm anti video games being art because of this argument. Like, yeah, I think because like with art, you can always appreciate a piece of art regardless of when you found it. Whereas with video games, it's a lot harder to do because of the interactive element. You know what I mean? So like, I can see that argument. I definitely can.
It's okay to make improvements over the original, but they should be in service of the original game's design, not at odds with it. A point that's been brought up to me recently is that video game remakes could be a lot worse. When you compare video game remakes to the film industry's remakes, those are usually more universally agreed upon to range from bad to nothing burger. I would agree with this. The video game remakes I've seen clearly have a lot of hard work put into them. But I don't think that doesn't mean we're in a position to still be critical with the state of video game remakes now. The problem with film remakes and the problem with video game remakes are very different.
Yeah.
With film, it's a problem of quality. In the case of video games, it's less a problem of quality, and more a tug of war between artistic vision and consumer expectation.
Yes, and I think that's what makes it, that's what makes it difficult. Is there anything you can add to this? Because that's what we were saying, right? Like, artistic vision and modern day sensibilities are something you have to take into account when remaking a game, where you don't necessarily have to with films or TV or anything of the sort, you know?
I'll admit the need to remake or redo something can sometimes be artistically driven. I've remade a couple videos on this channel because they didn't fit my current standard of quality, and I don't regret redoing them. At this point, those redone videos have been out longer than I kept the original ones public. Even now, a couple years later, I can look back at those remade videos and say they might be better than most of my current content. But in the case of video games, it's usually the opposite. The need is driven primarily by money, that's the most important one, but also expectations. We've become so used to getting remakes, and thus, the gaming industry must deliver on those expectations in order to make said money. Look, it's okay to want something. It's okay to like the idea of something. The point of this video isn't to tell everyone that they're wrong for wanting a remake of their favorite game.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, like, I can understand more people ask for remakes more now than ever before, but is it because, like, people have the expectation to, or is it because, like, there's so many more games that need being remade? Like, is it because what you have to prove to me is that this isn't just, like, a cultural conversation that people are having now that remakes have been normalized, or is it literally just a case of nostalgic is it like a case of nostalgic scrimbly bimblies are like, oh, like, remake Gwimbly's Revenge on the PS2, please, it needs a remake, please guys, please, it needs a remake? Or is it like, because remakes have been more normalized in the modern day, people are now discussing the inherent value of it? Like, what I'm saying is, are you arguing with 13-year-olds on Twitter, or are you arguing with normal people like me, right? Because, like, if you were to ask me, oh, is there do you think there's an expectation for more games to be remade? I'd say, not necessarily. But, like, obviously online, people just want their childhood scrimblies to be remade, because of course they do. They just want to play their game again, you know what I mean? So it's like, what I'm getting at is, like, who are you arguing with, the dissenters? Let me hear it again, but hang on.
It's okay to want something. Get used to getting remade one, but also expectations. We've become—
Who's expecting it, though? That's what I'm saying. Like, can you prove to me that there's, like, a cultural jump where people, like, expect remakes? Like, expect is a big word to use there. People want remakes. Of course people want remakes. I'm sure there's a game right now in the chat that everyone could think of, like, that want a remake, but, like, expect a remake, though? Like, are Sonic fans expecting a remake of Sonic Adventures 1 and 2? No, but I'm sure they'd be like, it's nice, you know? But, like, in the modern day, where, like, again, you're talking about by 2025 standards, right? Remakes have been like normalized to a great degree, right? There've been a lot of great examples of good remakes, and while there've been examples of a lot of bad, there've been a lot of great examples of good remakes. So now, again, the conversation's just happening a lot more. You know, that's what it is. Could it be that, or is it just a case of like you just happen to go on Twitter and see, oh, I want Ratchet and Clank, guys. Can I have Ratchet and Clank? No, it shouldn't be Ratchet and Clank. It should be Jack and Daxter, guys. What Jack? No, we need Last of Us again. We need Last of Us again. Like, what kind of, like, who are you talking about here? Is what I'm trying to say. Like, who are you talking about? Pokemon's maybe the only expected one, but that's because like Pokemon has had like a culture of remaking games, so it's fair for people to expect a Pokemon remake. With other mediums though, is it like maybe Resident Evil? You could argue has like, because Resident Evil's kind of made a culture of remaking their old games. Right? I think there's a bunch of Resident Evil game remakes. I think they've remade 4 like twice at this point, haven't they? So like again, but like so with different series, I could see the expectation. But is it just more of a case of people wanting remakes or like talking about it more? Like, yeah, no one expected a TTYD remake. It just kind of happened. So I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I feel like this is a chapter. This is a sentence that you could have elaborated on. Like, this is a part of this video you had to prove to me, which I don't think you've done, sadly. I think you're just kind of waxing lyrical and are going to let the video speak on itself. Is there a push for like more remakes than ever before? Or is it just like 12-year-olds on the internet saying, I want a remake, I want a remake, I want a remake, I want a remake? You know, like, I don't know. I don't believe you when you say that. And you haven't proven to me, unfortunately. No one even foresaw a Super Mario RPG remake. Yeah, exactly. Like, people are like, oh, Gino, it's impossible. So I was like, I don't know. Sad.
So used to getting remakes, and thus the gaming industry must deliver on those expectations in order to make said money. Look, it's okay to want something. It's okay to like the idea of something.
Yeah.
The point of this video isn't to tell everyone that they're wrong for wanting a remake of their favorite game. What I'm trying to convey here is that the signs are pointing to video games being on the path to stagnation. But you don't have
The classic. Video games are bad now, guys. Guys! Video games are stagnant, guys! Classic.
to stagnate with them. I'm not saying you have to keep up with all the niche and quirky indie games that are secretly these hidden masterpieces.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be one of those guys and be
that's
like,
good at least. That's good.
I just want game devs to make something new for a change.
Okay. He's not one of those. Guys, at least he's not one of those. Okay, fair. I thought he was, but okay, sure.
What I will
you definitely have presented yourself that way. But okay, let's
encourage you to do is to try something different. Play one game that's outside your comfort zone, and really try to get on its level. Everyone's got at least one game in their backlog that's different from what they're used to. It could be an old game that you were too intimidated to approach because you heard horror stories about clunky controls. It could be a more modern game that just plays differently from what you're used to.
Play God of War, chat. Play God of War. Oh, God of War, maybe. God of War. I mean, if he's making it cool for people to play games that like are outside your comfort zone, I can't fault him for that. Definitely, chat. You should definitely play a game in your backlog that you might not think appeals to you, but secretly does. You know.
Don't set out to find your new favorite game or anything. Just try to find some enjoyment in learning how to adjust to a game in its intended form. It's like picking up a new hobby or learning a new skill. Most of the fun comes from developing your appreciation for those things over time. That feeling is what makes video games fun in their own unique way. It's what makes them fun to begin with.
You're so real for that. You're so real for that, bro. You're so real for that. Honestly, this video was a perfect... Yeah, play more games, chat. Play more games. If it wasn't for me playing more games, I would never have found Persona 5 and how cool it is. I definitely became a Persona 5 Andy. In conclusion, delete. In conclusion, delete your conclusion. Yeah, honestly, I thought this video was an absolutely fascinating conversation. I think we had some... Honestly, chat, I'm proud of us. We had some very fascinating conversations in regards to like remakes and how remakes should go and all that jazz. Maybe we yapped a bit too much, but as always, guys, the internet claims another soul, unfortunately. It's sad. It is sad. It really is. It really is sad because this video was fantastic until you started attacking a viewer that doesn't exist because they're nostalgia blind because you saw one too many posts on Twitter of people saying, "Oh, remake game that doesn't need remade. Please, Nintendo, please remake game that doesn't need remade." And it kind of poisoned your brain, and it ended up making for a horrible section. And I think your paragraph of no game needs a remake is just really reductive. Of course, no game needs a remake. But I think video games are kind of in this unique medium where I think remakes are kind of something that has more of utility in video games than it does in like movies or anything else. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, brother. Interesting video that came with a good conversation until the Twitter nation attacks, unfortunately. I wonder if people are going to be as upset with the Twitter mention as we are. Let's find out, shall we, as we go into the mines. The Bravo 6 mines. Let's go, gamers. Then Home Attack was kind of a bad example considering the way the Home Attack worked in the adventure games was janky, but the game never tells you that works that way. I suppose, if it's janky, what people like the jank, is it really janky in the first place? My name is Jeff. Is it really? I don't know. My copy of Persona 3 Reload has a coffee stain on the front. It needs a remake. Honestly, so true for that. People constantly beg for remakes of games they never actually fucking intend on playing. Who is saying this? Who are these people? Who are these fucking guys? No, chat, help! I'm unfortunately, fortunate. I was gonna say unfortunate. I'm fortunately a lot more offline than I ideally I should be if I'm doing a job like this. But I don't say who. Who says this? There's an epidemic of gamers wanting overly smoothed out experiences. It's sickening. I mean, I don't doubt this person exists, but where are they? Where are they? I don't know. On the other hand, there are games that are still very good to this day, receiving garbage remakes from development teams who do not simply understand what they're remaking. Look no further than House of the Dead. It's worse than the original nearly everywhere, with the only upside being it's on modern platforms. Yeah, I'm sure there's examples of remakes being done bad. There's examples of remakes being done well. Well, crazy how that works. They should remake me someday, but with some quality of life improvements like $1 million, a hot wife, and a huge mansion. Yeah, I agree. They should definitely remake me, but with like a, extra couple of feet. I'm only like 6 foot on the dot. I want to be like 6'5", play for the NBA. You know what I mean? Classic. I define jank as not too differently, but something that's missing from the broad definition of your using. Jank is an instance clunky, typically unintended gameplay that serves to break the emotional flow. The reason we call out jank is because our immersion has been broken in some way. The controls of the game failing to keep it seamless between. I suppose it's a more like refined way of saying essentially what you were saying. It's like something not working as intended. You know what I mean? The point of the game is to help build a flow state where you aren't thinking about your choices, but just a game without distraction. And jank breaks that immersion. Yeah, I suppose I agree. I agree with this. 68 likes. You're taller than most. Wait, are you taller than 6 foot? Are you like 6'2" or 7 or something? You're fucking crazy, man. Craziness, man. Sometimes I just want to relive my childhood in a more accessible fashion, honestly. Of course, that doesn't mean everything needs a remake. Sometimes a nice way to relive in a game in a new way. That's just facts. That's just facts, honestly. You're 6'2", you tall-ass bastard. It drives me crazy when people bring up DMC1 remake and ask for DMC5 combat. Thank you so much for not only mentioning this in the video, but mentioning DMC1 as an example. I mean... Is it not unfair for people who've played DMC5 when they play a remake of a game to kind of like maybe is it not a fair ask? Maybe it might be a wrong ask, but I think it's a fair ask, Like when people say a remake of a game should appeal to like the modern game's combat style, I don't necessarily think that's a flawed argument in a vacuum. I think it can be, but you know what I mean? Like it depends really. See, like someone said they want DMC1 modern combat, so I don't think it's a flawed way of thinking necessarily. It can be, but I don't think it's necessarily a flawed way. Devil May Cry, I clapped 2 gamers, I clapped.
Devil May Cry, I clapped.
I clapped gamers, I clapped when you mentioned my one. The best example of the original being available with the remake is Metroid Zero Mission. When you beat the game, you unlock the original NES Metroid. Yeah, that's actually true. Although I don't know why you want to play the original NES Metroid, it fucking sucks. Hey, true, honestly, hey, remake this video like yesterday, brother, like yesterday. Hey, take out the Twitter segment, bloody hell, terrible. Not surprised there's so many remakes. Look at most video game discourse, and there's a liberal amount of people who refuse to try out any game that's over 10 years old. Yeah, but why are you talking to... Yes, of course there's people like that. Don't listen to their opinion, I guess. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to... discourse.
It's so sad I feel like a devil that may cry.
Wait, say that again.
Need a remake of the Switch 3 ASAP.
Same. I need one too. Thank you, Schmitty. And Alfonso, thank you so much, guys. It leads to a constant treadmill of wanting remakes for games that aren't out of date. At most, they like a few modern amenities, but there's a sizable non-zero amount of people who refuse to touch anything that isn't wholly modernized. Yeah, and guess what? And guess what? You don't fucking listen to these dog shit people's opinions. Yeah, when people say this, I'm like, okay, this is someone that's 13 years old. I shouldn't listen to their opinion. It's either a 13-year-old or like a million sub channel, which is basically the same thing. They both got the same mental age. So, what are we doing here, lad? I just want Persona 5 to stop whining about their dog shit ass takes on what every game should be Persona 5. Cry! Every game, cry! Every game should be Persona 5. I want more God, I want on, I want for real? I want for real in every game. If Persona 3 does not have a for real, I'm not playing the game. I'm not playing the game ever again. Downvoted. I welcome most remakes with open arms, but it's definitely questionable how necessary some of them are, especially with Sony. Yeah, obviously, duh, of course. I was playing DMC1 when you dropped this. DMC2? Ed Bignot? Can you play DMC2? Actually, no, I'll vote that. When it comes to gameplay-related stuff, I noticed that when someone says a game mechanic or something is aged poorly, they're always just talking about something they either don't understand or something that was still bad at the time they came out. I've yet to see a legitimate example of a game mechanic that was good at the time but suddenly bad now. I would say live systems is an example of something that was good at the time but bad now. So, do you need another example? Mario 64's camera was good at the time. It was revolutionary at the time. It's pretty shit now. Timers in like platformers when they're not based around the timer. Tank controls. I could give you many examples of mechanics that at the time were revolutionary, but now just fucking suck. So, you're not Mr. Gordon G-Man. You're not my G-Man, that's for sure. So, Elskibity. I always say the idea that games aging poorly because they don't. They never do. It's literally impossible. Every game is the exact same. Oh, this is Bruv, the comment. How often, chat, have we read the comments on a video and it's just very reflective of the video at hand? This guy said the same thing. Oh, not every game needs a remake. It's like, yeah, no, ain't no fucking shit, bro. What are we talking about here? Yeah, like, oh, not every game. Technically, every game was the same age when it. Yeah. I don't want to play the original Resident Evil because while it might be good and there might be some artistic appreciation, I don't like tank controls. I don't like them. I want games without them. Thank you. What are we talking about? Like, what are we doing here? It's other people's expectations that have aged poorly. Whose man is this, bro? Whose man is this? Good lord. They're like they want to homogenize everything. Hey, I just want to play. I just want games with good controls, man. Is that so hard to ask? I'm sorry. Is that so hard to ask? I don't like tank controls. Most people don't like tank controls. I probably could get used to them. I don't want to. I want to play a game where I can use both sticks in a normal way. Thank you very much. Again, Metroid Prime, one of my favorite games I've ever made. I can't stand playing the original game, okay? I like the remaster because I can play with 2 sticks like a normal human being. Even when I replay Time Splitters 2, my childhood classic, I play with a mouse and keyboard mod, okay? Because it's way better than that dog shit old control scheme. Urgh! I hate these people. I hate these people so much. I hate you people. Your ilk needs to be destroyed. I can't stand. Let me read the rest. Hang on before I crash out. It's sort of similar how people complain about modern media has any pushback or friction, needing to be brain off pure entertainment and nothing else. Well, again, you're arguing with a ghost. These people are children. Why are you arguing with children? The kind of people who would say this are children. Yes, you're arguing with children. I can't believe these people. I wish I could give people the ability to appreciate and enjoy flaws as part of art genuinely, but I can't. So bring on the remakes. At least they're fun most of the time. Yeah, but like, you've made me tired. You know what? 1037 version 1? Do you need a version 2? Chat, do we need a version 2? I think we might need a version 2. Downvote. Send them home. I'm starting to hate remakes even as a concept. Yeah, you're just wrong. You're just wrong, my YouTube account 4167. You're just wrong. You're wrong and skibbity, okay? He needs a remake, guys. He needs a remake. V2 is the remake. Yeah, we need it. It's simple. If a person wants to play a game, they'll find a way to play it. If you need a remake to enjoy a game, the game is not for you. This is just unbelievable. What is going on here? Is this the worst chat? Is this the worst comment section to video ratio? Because I think that the video for the most part was good. The ending definitely didn't stick the landing. These videos, compared to the topic at hand, these comments are atrocious. Holy, what is happening? Holy reductionist, Batman. I don't know what to say. Remake the comment section, man. What is happening here? The paid actors, they might as well be. What is this dog shit ass terrible comment? We've had like literally three in a row, chat. This comment atrocious. This comment atrocious. This comment even more what is happening here? Good lord, and it's really a shame people encourage remakes. You could have so many more new and different games if no one did. Oh, because it's a zero-sum game, right? That's how that works. Oh, okay, they would work on Pokemon Legends ZA, but they're doing the Gen 5 remake, guys. Sorry. Oh, you get one. Hang on, you can't do both. Atrocious. Holy. It's one of my favorite videos ever. Definitely going to revisit it a lot. Pretty much everything said in the video I've been dying to hear someone discuss at length. Yeah, did you get to the part where he yapped at Twitter? He yapped at ghosts? This video was amazing until then, honestly. I like remakes. However, I personally believe that a remake should only be to games that have aged poorly. If a game is aged well and a company and fans want it to be more accessible, just port it. Maybe do a simple master that does QOL and life fix issues. True. Breath of Fire 2 needs a remake. Kingdom Hearts 1 needs a remake, unless they change the story. Mega Man X 2 to 6 needs remakes. But games companies often choose to do a full remake treatment or on really don't need a remake. Yeah, that happens. It's unfortunate, really. It's unfortunate. Yeah, it's true. So yeah, when remakes are done well, it could be incredible and breathe life into old games. See Silent Hill 2 remake, Mega Man, Maverick X, Hunter X, Pokemon Oras. Emerald is right there. Live a Live, Persona 3 Reload, for example. But more often than not, we get remakes for games that very blatantly didn't need one. Wow! Oh my god! Wow! Great! Hey! Listen, Crimson Cat Whitey, could you have made the video instead? Maybe? I don't know. Maybe. Good lord. Good fucking lord. It was way too long to find a good comment in there. The world felt much better when we didn't need to get mad about random people. Just enjoy your like and dislike what you don't. The people are not stopping you. Listen, Hungbone, it's going to take a while. Listen, I'm fighting the good fight, okay? It's going to take a long time before people realize internet dipshits do not have to ruin your day. Hey, listen, it took me a while to learn that lesson, but like I think a couple years back, I just realized I don't care what any of you people have to say. Sorry, hang on. I don't care what anyone has to say. I just care about my own enjoyment. So it takes a while for people to realize that, unfortunately. It takes a while. I just hate whenever like a Persona 3 song on YouTube, it always use the reload version. Yeah, stay mad. Stay mad, bro. Stay mad. The remake was more popular than the original. Stay mad. Just mad. The only real remake I feel like I need is Like a Dragon Kenzan. Oh my god, Yakuza mentioned? Yakuza mentioned? Crazy. Original remake should be available. Oh, that's just true. That's just facts. You know, you're right for that. You hit the nail on the head for the most part. I for wanted one of Persona 3 Reader, but not as it is today. But as a compilation, definitive version of all the best. Well, stay mad, nerd, I guess. I don't know. Let's scroll down a bit more, shall we? Thermal accessibility should only be reserved for price and old hardware. The actual gameplay is simply subjective. No? Again, I don't want a tank control. Oh, man. Send them home. Send them home, lads. I don't know. My problem with the remakes is that they're always done to games that are essentially timeless classics and still quite relevant. Games with status like are the last ones that need a remake. Yeah, that's just true. I mean, true. The facts. Baby boy cut bubble tea. No. Glaze. Holy glaze. I think the important function is remakes to make old games available. I don't have a PS2 or computer strong enough to run emulators, so Suikoden on the PS5 was the only way I could play the game again. Again, another important factor for a remake. It's crazy, huh? We won't read too many more. I think I've seen all I need to see. I don't know if you get me. You changed my mind. I don't know, Amy. You should change your mind again. I don't know. I think we should remake. Okay, this is just true. This is just true, honestly. We should just remake Skyrim again. Oblivion. Can we get Oblivion again, please, guys? Oh my god. Hey, I recognize this guy. This guy's in my comments. Hang on. Musty Viewer mentioned. Where's the bingo? Shit, we should have done bingo. Musty Viewer in the wild. Holy. So we'll see more remakes of remakes. True. Sonic the Q. Sometimes he has it. Honestly, you can flip a coin. Sometimes this guy has good takes, and sometimes in my comments he has bad takes. I wonder if when I upload this VOD, Sonic the Q-Hog's gonna have a good take or a bad take. I wonder if he's gonna have it. He's a mixed bag. This guy's a mixed bag. Sometimes I heart his comments, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know, brother. I don't know. So sometimes you be whack. Sometimes you be a little whack. A demix. Taking someone's creative vision and bastardizing is not a good thing. Fucking preach to the choir that doesn't exist, brother. Either way, I think I've seen all I need to see. 64 DS should really have a remake. Definitely, definitely. Honestly, 64 DS should have a remake, and then in 5 years from now, they should remake the remake. Honestly, that's what they should do. Something people forget as well is that remakes offer a completely new language options that weren't even an option before. I never got into the Famicom Detective Club series if not for the Switch release. Wow, another reason as to why remakes should exist, huh? Oh, crazy, huh? ARG. Pretty much. What was it? Let's see if there's any new comments that are interesting. Probably not really. Oh, the classic games, the classic consume. Don't question things, just consume and get rid of consume gamers, consume. I got a handful of these kinds of comments on my I don't know if you got what's it? Fuck, what video was it? Oh, it was the most critical one. Do you know when I talked about when I whinged at him for like whinging about PLZA when it's not even out yet? I got a couple of these kinds of comments. Almost you're such a consumer, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. I like to consume. I like to consume product. Honestly, you're so right for that. Guys, consume product and get excited for the next product. Either way, we'll leave it there. I'm done consuming. I'm done consuming this content. Either way, Bubble Tea. I think I was gonna say I think the discussions we had on stream was more interesting than the video, but that'd be very mean if I said that, because I think this video was actually very, very interesting. As long as you stop at the 22-minute mark, if I'm being honest. As long as you stop there, I think the video is brilliant, and the rest of it less so. What I would say to you, Bubble Tea, is what I say to everyone, which is just fucking don't let Twitter Andes ruin your fucking life, bro. Like, come on, man. come on. And then this is the part where people say to me, but Moresty is not that easy, but Moresty is not that simple. It is. Brother, I promise. I promise wholeheartedly, chat. It is literally just as simple as, whoa, hang on. I could just not, whoa. Crazy, I could just not read dog shit takes on the internet. Well, I can tune my algorithm to my own will and read only things that I want to see. Crazy. Amazing how that works. So yeah, what I would say in future, if you are going to do this section where you like debunk random people on the internet and like talk about things that like you can't expect most viewers to like intuitively get, I think you have to bring up examples. You have to bring up very prominent examples. I do believe that there can be, like, you can prove to me that there's like a discussion on the internet that's become all encompassing, but you simply can't say, you can't like make shit up like you did in this bit without showing me examples, you know? Like if you're going to say, for example, there's a culture of people expecting remakes, you have to do the lion's share of proving that to us. Are there any like highly viewed videos? Are there any highly upvoted Reddit posts? Are they highly viewed Twitter? Like you have to do the lion's share of showing to me that this isn't just a case of you saw one too many Twitter threads, therefore it's kind of discourse poisoned your brain. You have to prove to me that this is an actual big conversation, a big take that a lot of people seem to have. That's what you have to do to me if you're going to do this sort of like, oh, you're just nostalgic, if you're going to do like this sort of discussion piece ever again. Because if you don't, then it just makes you come across like you're fighting shadows. Because yeah, you're just honestly, that's just all it came to. You've got like one screenshot and we needed like 30. Yeah, it's, if you are going to do, as I always say, I'm not against the idea of you like debunking narratives on the internet. If you are, though, you have to do the lion's share of proving to me this is something people actually believe, and you didn't just see one Twitter thread by like fucking Moist Critical that blew up because it's a Moist Critical tea, and of course it's going to blow up. So that's my advice to you in the future. Overall, I think your video was very well presented, gave us a lot of interesting avenues to talk about the culture of remakes, and we will leave it there, brother man. Good stuff.